Let's move this over here. Let me add all my stuff on here, man. Let's see. What's my Cash App, man? I'm gonna add that on here. Terence Crawford, man, they're blackballing, man. Why are they blackballing? Why are they blackballing Terence Crawford? I probably should start scheduling these lives. Terence Crawford is being that way people know when I'm coming on, so I don't have to wait for people to jump on. Is this fair or unfair? Let's see what people have to say. Engage with your audience. What's this right here? Let's close that. Hey, what's going on? Hey, who's out there? Let me know who's out there, man. I just went live. I didn't announce it, but I think we have something to talk about with Terence Crawford being blackballed because Terence Crawford cannot get a big fight for his next match. Let me see. We'll see if people start jumping on. You know, the thing is when you go live, people come on and then they jump off if they don't see like 1,000 people on here. But you know, it's all good. So let's see, what do we have here? What is my let me go right here, get this information. We'll see who jumps on. Let me know you're here. Let me. Okay. People will jump on here in a second. Let's get this discussion going. People jump on. Say something. I see somebody just jumped on. Let's talk about Terence Crawford and the fact that he can't get a big name for his next fight and how he's being blackballed by the key decision makers in boxing. Because that is exactly what's happening to Terence Crawford. They're not letting this man get away with not taking the Earl Spence fight. And to me, it's kind of unfair what they're doing to him, but it is what it is. So let me know who's out there. More people are going to be jumping on. Boom, we got 2 people on now. I'm sure we'll probably get up to 30 or 40 people as long as y'all just don't jump off. So let me know. What do you think? You think it's right what they're doing to Terence Crawford? Say something if you're out there. Because Terence Crawford, Victor, hey, what up, Hood? Hey, what's up, Victor? How you doing, man? Gonna see if more people jump on, man. I probably need to start scheduling these out. You know how it goes when you do these videos and you don't schedule it, and people jump on and they see 1 or 2 people on, then they decide they just want to go do something different because they expect to see 1,000 people on these lives. So I'm gonna probably start scheduling a time every day to get on. But the thing I want to talk about, Victor, is kind of what I've been posting on the channel and what's going on right now is Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford's being blackballed. And is it fair or unfair to Terence Crawford what's happening right now in the welterweight division? So that's what I want to find out, and I want to hear what people have to say, because we know that as far as the boxing community, when it comes to what's going on between Spence and Crawford, we know that they're split. And a lot of people are going to side with Spence and Crawford. But what's happening right now, in my opinion, is, it's kind of wrong. The boxers with big names need to promote themselves, or is it too expensive? No, I don't think it's too expensive for those guys with big names to promote themselves. I think the problem is, well, one, you need to have capital, right? So that's a fact. But I just don't think these guys have they don't have the knowledge, man, to know how to go about, marketing themselves, engaging with these different networks in order to get the deals in place. You got to have what's going on, 78 Sound. How you doing? You got to have somebody out there who understands the protocol. So let's take a look at just like what happened here with Terence Crawford, right? Look at what's happening to Terence Crawford right now. He's getting alienated because he went in to negotiations, right? These are his words. He's his own boss. He was sitting at the table. But because he chose to go into negotiations, represent himself, he didn't have that machine behind him. He didn't really have that experience there, right? He chose to do things on his own. So as a result, now he's getting backlash, man. But as far as guys wanting to represent themselves, they can do it. But yeah, you need to have some capital because somebody's got to take the risk. You got guys sponsors who come into play. You got the networks who come into play. This is his doing. He got hood and thought he could make corner dice game moves, but got him a shot last time. Hey, Paul Allen, man, thanks for jumping in the chat. Hey, I don't disagree with what you're saying, but the thing is it fair? Is it fair what's happening to Terence Crawford? That's the thing. Is it fair? You know, because he can't get a big name. 78 Sound. I'm going to talk about what's going on with Crawford right now. If you look at the boxing rankings, you look at who's being lined up for the WBA, the WBC, the IBF, and look at what's happening to the WBO. That shit is crickets over there. And I understand Crawford decided not to take on the Spence fight. Him and Spence, they both kind of held up all those belts from being defended. You know what I'm saying? But it was Crawford pulling out of it that put everything in a bad space, and those sanctioning bodies want to get paid. So now they're punishing Crawford. Can you talk Tank next? What are you talking about? Tank and Ryan Garcia? Hood, I think Crawford should take that 60-40. Spence has a better resume. Now, I agree. When it comes to, as far as the purse split, there's no argument there. I don't understand people. It's like I always say, right? Those belts, look at Devin Haney. I don't think he's better than Tank. But when we talk about belts, those are like certifications, man. If you and I are going into a job and you have more certifications than me, you should get paid more money. And it's the same thing in boxing, man. You go out there and earn those belts. You can't come now and expect a 50-50 split. Yeah, Crawford's going to miss a big payday. But even though Crawford did outstanding things, 135, 140, we know what he did at 140. But once he got all those belts, he dropped that, man. He was like, all right, I'm out of here. Bump it up to 147. So looking at your past performance, that carries weight. And it should play somewhat into negotiations. But we're looking at present day. Right now, what is it you're bringing to the table? And Crawford he's a great fighter. But no, Crawford, that split, in my opinion, I always said 70-30, but I think 60-40 is fair, man. 60-40 is fair. He chose it. They both did to make it interesting, build a fight. What's up, Paul Allen? Crawford doesn't sell in the business of boxing is money. That's the truth. That's the truth. But you know what? With Terence Crawford and this thing he's doing with BLK Prime, right? That's a great opportunity for Terence Crawford. Because now, you know, they say he made $10 million. And like I normally say, the only person I believe in boxing is Adrian Broner. Because Adrian Broner don't lie. He may not say anything, but when he talks, even if it makes him look bad, he's going to tell the truth. But look at what we have right now. Earl Spence, right? They want Earl Spence out of boxing too. They want Earl Spence to move up. It's not just Terence Crawford, but what they're doing is that Terence Crawford's getting the worst end of the stick. Yeah, let me break this down to you. Look at what they got right now. The WBO, as far as that ranking stack, before they had, you know, you look, they just pulled Ennis out of there. Virgil Ortiz, he's somewhat kind of in there now because Ortiz and Stanley Eunice. That fight is kind of up in the air because Stanley Eunice had to go through surgery. But you look at what Earl Spence has to deal with. Ortiz, Stanley Eunice. He got Keith Thurman. He got Crowley over there. He got Jerome Boots Ennis, right? You know, all the big names are going to end up in position to be mandatories to whoever holds all those titles from the WBA, WBC, and the IBF, which is Earl Spence. Crawford, as far as big names, he's got to face maybe Alexis Rocha next. Don't get me wrong. Alexis Rocha is a good fighter. He's a real good fighter. But outside of that, what do you have next? You know, Blair Cobb. You got this guy, Cintion. If Terence Crawford was to fight Alexis Rocha, we here in the boxing community, I think we can respect that fight because we know Rocha can fight. But it's not the big name we want. But the majority of people, if they see Terence Crawford fighting Alexis Rocha or Blair Cobb, oh my God, man. Terence Crawford thinks he has it tough now. But if Terence Crawford was to fight Alexis Rocha or Blair Cobb, man, Terence Crawford would never hear the end of it. Let me get through these comments. Hood, I think Crawford should take that. Yeah, 60-40, 78 sound. It's bad because Crawford missed a payday. That's right. That's what they're doing to him. They're saying, no, you know what, Crawford? You went and took that $10 million. Okay, Mr. Boss, Mr. I don't need a promoter, Mr. I can do it myself, Mr. I came to the table. Al Heyman didn't get back to me in time because his mom was sick, right? This is all the stuff that was going on. Terence Crawford came out there and he just basically publicly lynched everyone. He should never went to Instagram. But now they're like, okay, you're making all your money, do it on your own. We're gonna make sure you don't get a big name to help build your profile and platform and help with your pay-per-view sales. We still don't really know what Bud did when it comes to those pay-per-view sales when he fought Evanescence. That account that 120K pay-per-view sales was reported from, look, even I reported it was 122K pay-per-view sales. But after further research, you look at that website, anyone can create an account to help promote their business, and they can publish anything they want. So that 120K, I don't know what the number is. But what I will say is Adrian Broner said they did pretty good. And again, I'm going to talk about Adrian Broner as a soundboard because I believe what he says. He didn't say the exact number. He just said he did good, and it was a success. So I tend to believe Adrian Broner. But everybody else, hard to believe, especially when you look at what's going on with this crap with Tank Davis, Deontay Wilder. People saying those guys Deontay Wilder did less than 80,000 pay-per-view sales. Tank Davis did less than 60,000 pay-per-view sales. That's madness, man. I just can't see Tank Davis or Deontay Wilder doing less than 80,000 pay-per-view sales. But again, like I said, if the fly on the wall could talk, you're selling out the live gates. I'm talking about Tank Davis now, right? Anywhere this man goes, he sells out the live gate. But now you're telling me he can't do over 60,000 pay-per-view sales? It just doesn't make sense. Somebody lying, man. Okay? But for Terence Crawford, hey, he's got to figure it out. And what he should do, this is what should happen right now. Because Virgil Ortiz, he's in a holding pattern. You see, Virgil Ortiz is in a holding pattern. He doesn't have anyone to fight. Stanley Unis, no one knows when Stanley Unis is going to get his stuff together. You know, that procedure he's going through, everyone heals differently. You can't sit here and say Stanley Unis is going to be ready in 2 months or 3 months. It could take 6 or 7. But if Terence Crawford is really about his business, he should be engaging Oscar De La Hoya. Oscar De La Hoya should be reaching out to Terence Crawford, and they should be trying to make that fight. Virgil Ortiz against Terence Crawford. That, to me, is the logical fight to make right now because everyone else is committed. Everyone else is committed to something else. Look, Terence Crawford can't fight Keith Thurman. He can't fight damn Crowley. He can't fight anyone. The only person that's really available is what's his name? Virgil Ortiz. Now the question is, would that fight sell? What do you guys think Virgil Ortiz against Terence Crawford would do big numbers? Because that's what this all boils down to, right? It's all about the pay-per-view sales because no one's getting big-time guarantees anymore. Everyone's getting their guarantees, 500,000, 1 million, 1.5 million. That's it. And in addition to that, you're looking at the live gate and you're looking at pay-per-view. So none of these fighters are making this $20, $30 million anymore. Like that, those days are over. You know, I think the last person, let me get to these comments real quick, but I think the last person outside of like a Mayweather and outside of what's going on right now with Canelo and AJ, those guys are the exceptions. But I think I remember like Miguel Cotto. This man got a $15 million guarantee from Rock Nation. Who out here right now is getting $15 million guarantees? It ain't Terence Crawford. It ain't Earl Spence. So for Terence Crawford to look to make the kind of money he wants, he needs the right dancing partner. And those sanctioning bodies not going to let it happen. So he shot himself in the foot by pulling out of that Spence fight. Because you figure you're talking about a year, maybe it'll be going on almost a year and a half for these sanctioning bodies not getting that undisputed distinction that they were hoping for. That's a lot of money lost for those guys. Millions of dollars lost. So what does Terence Crawford do? Let me get through some of these comments. They both did to make it interesting, build a fight. Crawford doesn't sell. Yeah, boxing's money, man. And that's what this boils down to. That's what's hurting Crawford. All he had to do was beat Errol Spence. Yeah. So let me ask you guys this, because this is a topic of discussion. Do you really think Terence Crawford is ducking Errol Spence? Or do you think Errol Spence is ducking Terence Crawford? That's the real question. Now, I don't think if they're avoiding each other for some reason, I don't think it's out of fear. I don't think they're scared. Yeah. Right. They're not ducking. It's the people, I call it the big top. Those key decision makers behind the scenes, man. They're complicating this. Now, what I will say, yeah, it's just business. Absolutely. But what I will say is, I think it does make it a little harder for Errol Spence to jump and take a fight, because he definitely has his team, and Errol Spence may have the final say, but he can't just come out here and say, you know what, that sounds like a good deal, I'm going to take it. It just doesn't work like that. When we're talking about Terence Crawford, at least right now, it sounds like Terence Crawford has more flexibility. So that is something else to look at. But at the end of the day, I don't think they're ducking each other. But I'm telling you right now, you still got Errol Spence try to get through Keith Thurman. And look at what they're doing with that. There's a chance you got Terence Crawford hanging out here. He's just kind of waiting to see what's going to happen, because Terence Crawford knows he can't just come out here and fight anybody. He knows that. I don't think he cares if he can make $15 million, if BLK is going to put up another $10 million for him to fight a nobody. I don't think Crawford cares, but I think right now he's listening. He's paying attention. Whereas before, he may not have cared and wasn't really paying attention, but I think now more than ever, Crawford is really paying attention to what people are saying. And I think it's going to bother him. It's kind of like with Tank Davis. He's out there with Mayweather. They're making sure that he doesn't end up in some kind of pitfall to where he takes a loss or he goes in there with in a 50-50 fight. Their whole thing with him was, hey, we can help you make millions of dollars, try to get you to be a billionaire with the least amount of risk. But then what happened to Tank Davis? His legacy. He wants to fight people. What people are saying started getting to him. Now, Crawford already, we can argue that he already has his legacy cemented, right? But the fact that people are saying things about him now, being a duck, fighting tomato cans, he's not with Bob Arum. He can't say, well, it's not my fault. It's the promoter, or I got these mandatories. He's in a position to where anyone to blame is really himself. Now, we get it with the mandatories, but some people are still going to say the fact that you don't have a big name to fight as a mandatory, you caused that problem because you should have fought Spence. Paul Allen says, I believe what Earl said. People take tune-ups because they're confident. They aren't confident, referring to Bud. I believe Bud has more uncertainty because of Earl's performance against Yugas. I believe Crawford don't believe he can beat Earl Spence. Okay. Okay, so you guys think Crawford can beat Earl Spence? I see that as this is how I see Earl Spence and mandatories 7-8 sound. Those are the guys that the sanction bodies determine. The person who has the belt, they have to fight them next. Okay, so most of the time after these guys fight the mandatory, they may get a voluntary defense. Okay, he can't beat Spence. I'm gonna tell you what I think right now about Crawford and Spence. I've always said this, and I'm gonna say it again, since now that we're getting a better audience, right? Crawford and Spence are 50-50. They're the two number ones battling for the undisputed distinction. When they fight, whoever wins, that person becomes the undisputed. The loser remains number one. Because I just don't think at this time anybody beats either one of those guys. But styles make fights. Now, what I see happening now, before I was saying Crawford would beat Spence, right? I said it would be a very competitive fight, but I thought Crawford would beat Spence because Crawford fights with his eyes. Now, this is what happened, right? I'm not saying that I'm going to flip-flop. What I'm going to say is I think that fight is even more than 50-50 now. Because what we saw when Crawford fought Evanescence, right? I'm gonna tell you what I realized. When Crawford fought Evanescence, it's the first time I've seen Crawford kind of start to look his age a little bit. Now, I'm not saying that he just totally fell off, but what I'm saying is he didn't, maybe because of a little bit of inactivity too, right? But he normally, when he switches, that plays to his advantage because we know Crawford is a switch hitter, right? But he was switching, and what's his name? Evanescence, as slow as he is, was able to time the switch, and he was catching Crawford. And I said, you know what? If this guy Evanescence can catch Crawford during Crawford switching or just being in the fight and touching him up anyway, what's EJ going to do when Earl Spence throws, what does man throw, like almost 100 punches around? Non-stop volume puncher, boxer puncher, who closes the distance behind his jab, coming with that left, puts his head in your chest, uses his elbow to pin you on the ropes, and works with the free hand. If you slide the other way, he steps with you, using the other elbow, pins you against the ropes, and then let's go with the other free hand. Earl Spence is going to have opportunities to get Crawford and pin him against the ropes, but there's a certain risk associated with that. Now, some risk, a positive risk, some risk, a negative risk. Those positive risks are, if I take that risk to get on the inside, now there's a chance that I can get my offense on them and I can neutralize them. That's a positive risk. The negative risk is if I try to close the distance on Terence Crawford, it's liable. More than likely, I'll get my ass countered. Okay, because Crawford fights with his eyes, and he's a great counterpuncher, and he's a great fighter. So that's all I'm saying. But I think over time, with Terence Crawford's movement, it could present some problems for Earl Spence, but it could end up to where Terence Crawford gets way behind on the scorecards because he's not going to, I don't see Terence Crawford trying to stand there and exchange. But this leads to the next argument, which you may agree with or you may not agree with, right? Is Crawford chinny? Is Earl Spence chinny? Who's chinny? I think both of them are a little bit chinny, if you ask me. Whoever gets hit first. And I think Crawford has a good opportunity to touch Spence early in that fight when Spence is trying to come in, and sometimes he gets a little bit reckless. Although he maintains a tight defense, sometimes he gets a little bit reckless trying to get his shots off. And if Crawford catches him, Crawford can hurt him. He can. So I think it's a 50-50 fight, but I just think it's a matter of who applies the intelligence. But if after round 4, 5, let's say 5 or 6, we know Crawford doesn't fatigue. But the thing is, Earl Spence picks up the pace. Look at Sean Porter when he was fighting Crawford. Sean Porter was winning the fight. Okay? If Crawford is probably 10 times more of a problem, Spence is 10 times more of a problem than Porter is. That's all I'm saying, man. It's not going to be easy. Let's look what we have here. What big name? Baby Yaga says, what big name does Earl Spence have on his resume? Earl is not getting close when he gets popped with big shots trying to come in. All guys who have losses. What Baby Yagi said, Earl is not getting close when he gets popped. Well, Earl will reset. But the big names on Earl Spence's resume, it depends. Are we talking about these guys right now? But you got Danny Garcia, you got Porter. Ugas is a big name. So you want to go outside of that? We can sit here and argue, Mikey Garcia. Some people say he was small, but look, he came up, he gave Earl a run for his money. Earl can say that he chose to prove that he can outbox the boxer, but Earl Spence has some names on his resume. Now, I'm not going to say Algeria is a name because at the same time, if you're you can't make people fight you. That's the other thing we got to be fair when it comes to Earl Spence and Terence Crawford. You can't make people fight you. Look at what's going on with Shakur Stevenson. This man couldn't get, who was it? Is it Zepeda, Isaac Pitbull Cruz, and somebody else? They all turn on the fights. They don't want to fight him. And he's a smaller guy coming up. So could you imagine what's happening behind the scenes where there are fights that promoters are trying to make and guys are turning it down? because, this is the era where everybody wants to stay undefeated. Nobody wants, let me tell you what, nobody wants to really get in that ring unless they're going to get a handsome payday. Most of these guys don't even care about the title anymore because of sanction fees they have to pay. They want money. They want to get paid. Everybody wants to be Charles Martin. Y'all remember Charles Martin? The Prince. He went and fought AJ. He just happened to win a belt by default. He got lucky, right? Won a belt by default. The opponent couldn't continue. He went and sold it to AJ for like $8 or $9 million. Didn't even make it up the first round. So these guys just want to get paid. They don't really care. So when it comes to Terence Crawford, he's going to have to figure it out because Terence Crawford's in a horrible, horrible spot. And I just think Terence Crawford, they're trying to force him up to 154. And I think they also, for Earl Spence, they want him out of there too. I think both of them have targets on their back. You gotta look, right? With all the money that these sanctioning bodies are missing out on, because there's like registration fees promoters have to pay. There's different fees they have to pay just to have the fight. There's so many fees, right, tied to these champions who have a belt that goes to the sanctioning bodies. Some of these things that is like that doesn't even get discussed. I just happen to do the research on it and do a video. And once I realized just how many fees promoters have to pay, and then how these boxers get screwed out of their money. And this is why you see what's happening with Terence Crawford and Earl Spence. These sanctioning bodies are like, we didn't get our money. When a fighter fights, any mode of generating revenue, the sanctioning bodies get a piece of that. From wearing those little patches on their trunks, from any endorsement deals, any mode of generating revenue, the sanctioning bodies get some of their money. That is horrible. Even if, say I'm fighting and I got someone I'm wearing a patch on my trunk, they're going to pay me $1 million. And I try to work it out to where, give the money to my friend or my sibling or to this other business partner to try to hide that money that I'm making. Those sanctioning bodies find out about that, they come after you and they get the money anyway. They sue you, all kind of stuff, or they blackball you. So that's why you see they're not getting the money over the last year. They didn't really make much money that they expected, right? They had a projection, the kind of money they'll make with Spence and Crawford. You figure the first fight and second fight, how much money would those sanctioning bodies have made from just the fees those boxers had to pay and then the different modes of revenue they would have generated? Those sanctioning bodies didn't get that money. So that's why they're turning on those guys. They're like, we need y'all out of here. We need those belts free, and we need to give it to these other boxers who are going to defend the belts. And in turn, are going to put money in our pocket because the sanctioning bodies get paid off the efforts of fighters. And that's why I say Earl Spence and Crawford have targets on their backs. Both, you can't come out here, right, and have belts and sit there and talk about you don't care, you'll just move up. I'll drop the belts. You can't have where everybody wants to see an undisputed fight and both of y'all saying, I don't care, I don't need Crawford, I don't need Spence. These sanctioning bodies are hearing that. And whoever else is involved behind the scenes, they're hearing that and they're watching. They're watching how you operate. And they're like, oh, you know what? These guys really aren't going to make the fight. So now look at what they're doing. Let me get to these comments. I'm going to tell you what they're doing because look at how they only gave them 60 days to negotiate a deal to fight if Earl Spence can even get past Keith Thurman, which that's no guarantee. Crawford is a southpaw. Paul Allen says Crawford is a southpaw. Really, every time he's hit, he switches to southpaw, plus inside butt throws wild white hooks. He come down the pike like Earl, yeah. I agree. Bud he does throw some wide shots sometimes. But sometimes I think he will throw wide it's like a bait tactic, man. I'll throw wide to get you to react, and then I counter. But I agree. If he's in there, he has to be very careful and very strategic with Earl Spence because Earl Spence is always throwing. The downside is when you get a puncher who's high volume like that, the more you let your hands go, the more you're vulnerable to be encountered. And that's why I said it's really going to be a cat and mouse game in there. But we know Crawford starts off slow, and he just didn't look that great to me against Evanescence. And to me, he still has ring rust. You look at it when he's getting back into the ring, April time frame or something like that. He was talking about between April and June. So more than likely, hopefully, it's going to be around April. But that's still a lot of time out the ring, man. So I don't. the only gain I think Crawford got from fighting Evanescence is that he made some good money. Paul Allen says Crawford is chinny. Yeah, hey, him and Crawford. Look, Crawford and Spence are both chinny, man. You know, you'll watch them fights, man. Danny Garcia, hurt Spence, Yugas. Hey, I don't care what anyone says. I don't know what the hell was wrong with Yugas. Yugas looked like he was just being too nice in that fight, right? He totally let Spence off the hook. He said he thought the referee told him to stop or break, but he hurt Spence a couple times. But even outside of that, man, when Earl Spence fought Porter, he got hurt a few times. But Terence Crawford, I don't care what you say. When he fought Mean Machine, we saw that Terence Crawford can go down faster than a plate of Alabama barbecue if you catch him clean. Because Crawford, Mean Machine, he touched Crawford. And Gamboa, when he was still kind of in his prime, Gamboa did buzz Crawford as well. You figured if little Gamboa can buzz Crawford like that, then Earl Spence should be able to really hurt him. But at the same time, Crawford's fighting at a much lower weight. So punch resistance and everything's affected when you have to drain yourself. Yeah, Baby Yaga, I agree. Yeah, Ugas did hurt Earl. 78 Sound says, some of these men come in injured. They are intangibles. Absolutely. They get banged up in sparring. They say the fight's either won or lost in sparring. And then if you think about what they put themselves through to make weight, chips of ice 24 hours prior, 12 hours before the weigh-in. These guys are in saunas, in cycles, coming out of there, going into a hot bath, in cycles, still trying to cut off that, quarter of a pound. Then they got to go and try to, piss out the rest. So you're right. They come into those fights sometimes severely dehydrated, even when they try to rehydrate themselves. They got to be careful. You can't just come and drink a gallon of water. And they get injured. And a lot of times they don't disclose those injuries because they need the payday. They need to fight. Bud been calling this guy out for years and he hasn't answered the call. It's all what I think has happened. I'm gonna tell you what I think. I think priority shifted, man. I do. I think priority shifted for Bud and also Spence. I do. I just think for Spence, he was all in for fighting Crawford. He was all in. But, whatever, they didn't take him serious. Steven Espinoza can say whatever he wanted. Bud Crawford was asking for these things that was kind of outside of normal protocol. But I think Earl Spence just got tired, man. And he's like, you know what? For me to fight at 147 is damn near impossible. He's drained. He doesn't want to do it. And for Terence Crawford, I think Terence Crawford realizes, shit, I have a way to make big money without coming here and needing Earl Spence. I don't need him. So I'll sit here with BLK Prime and I'll ride this till the wheels fall off. It's kind of like when DAZN came on. When DAZN came online, everybody went over to DAZN. The C-level and B-level fighters, they were getting money they never would have made. Look at Tevin Farmer. This man was making $1 million, a little bit over $1 million a fight. Crazy. So Tevin Farmer and Tank Davis, as much as Eddie Hearn said that he was going to try to make that fight, Tevin Farmer forgot about fighting Tank Davis after that. Why sit there and worry about chasing after Tank in a high-risk fight when I can make $1 million? And I think that's kind of what's happening with Crawford. What's Crawford, 36 now? I think he still wants the fight with Earl Spence, but I think his priorities shifted where Earl Spence may have been the number one out of maybe 5 priorities as far as what he wants to get done before he retires. I think Earl Spence may have dropped down to maybe priority number 3. And his number one priority now is just make as much money as possible against anybody riding this BLK Prime wave. That's how I see it. Bud took the fight against Evanescence instead of fighting Earl. That was on Bud. I agree. Paul Allen says, Yo and Porter didn't train hard like he did for Spence and gave Crawford hell. Or Porter trained like he was fighting Thanos and Earl was partying with Adrian Broner getting drunk. Yeah, I agree with you. I agree. These guys come out and they're sometimes, man, I don't know why they wouldn't sit there and train and take things serious, but that's on them, man. These guys have been boxing their whole life. But that just shows you once you're mentally checked out, it's time to just leave the sport. And Sean Porter's dad, Kenny Toothpick, Joe Jackson Porter, he outed his boy, didn't he? He put him out there big time. But Kenny Porter, he obviously knew there was things going on, like we talk about, things that happen in sparring, things leading up to the fight. He saw things he didn't like, and it showed up in the ring. We never seen Porter go down like that and, punching the ring floor and all that crap. So obviously Porter knew there were some things he could have done differently. Paul Allen says, watch when Bud gets tagged, his shots get wide. That's how Gambo uncovers it. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Plus, I think, like, that Mean Machine, people don't give Mean Machine enough credit. He hits hard, extremely hard. I was watching some interviews with, Robert Garcia, and because Mean Machine trained in his gym at a time. And when people talk about him, they talk about how hard he hits. So the fact that Virgil Ortiz stopped Mean Machine, and that wasn't an easy fight, that tells you how tough Virgil Ortiz is as well to stop Mean Machine, because Mean Machine hits hard. So yeah, I'm not surprised that Bud got caught, because I guess he didn't think he can hurt him. But, he got that respect. But then Bud got pissed off, and then we saw what he does when he gets upset. He wants to get you back, and he got him out of there. Same thing he did to, what's David Benavidez' brother, man? Jose Benavidez. Same thing. Jose Benavidez on that bad leg, he was hobbling around the ring, but he was giving Bud Crawford hell during that fight. And then Bud Crawford kind of turned it up a notch, and we saw how it ended. The Book of Negroes. I'm a fan of your channel. You're making great content. You're going to blow up. Thank you, sir. I hope so. Man, I'm just a boxing fan. I'm not biased to anyone. I'm retired. You know what I'm saying? So I have the time to do it. And I'm going to try to go live, for a couple hours every day while my kids are in school. And we can just have a healthy dialogue, man. I'm not going to cuss and carry on. I don't want anybody doing that to me. Let's just talk about boxing. It's almost like if we were at the damn sports bar on fight night and we're all chilling and talking. We're not always going to agree. We may talk a little trash, but we can agree to disagree. You know what I'm saying? We all love boxing. Karen Ballard says, you must be Bomac's father. He stalled for a reason. Karen Ballard, what do you mean he stalled for a reason? What are you talking about? Terence Crawford stalled? Because I'm not understanding what you're saying. Pyre says he's not being blackballed. I did a video explaining why this fight didn't happen. Right. I think we all going to see it through a different lens. I think Crawford is being blackballed. I think Earl Spence has a target on his back too. If you look at Earl Spence and Terence Crawford, I kind of talked about Terence Crawford, but I'll touch on it again because some of you guys are just not coming on, right? You look at Earl Spence. He has an uphill battle. Let's say Earl Spence beats Keith Thurman, right? Okay, that's what should happen. Let's say he beats Keith Thurman. Not a guarantee, but you look at the inactivity of Thurman, Spence should clip him. If Spence beats Thurman, he comes back down to 147. Who does he have to fight next? Okay, now he's got to look at fighting, what's his name? Could be Ennis if Ennis beats Villa. After that, if Spence can beat the winner of that guy, those guys, then he's got to fight the winner of, what's his name? Stanley Eunice and Virgil Ortiz, if that materializes, right? So he's got to fight Thurman, which isn't easy. Then he has to fight either Virgil Ortiz or Villa. Then he's got to fight the winner of Stanley Eunice and Ortiz. And the thing is, they're giving him 60 days. What's up? This is Rob. They're giving the man 60 days if he beats Thurman to make a fight with Terence Crawford. We know 60 days isn't enough. For those of you who've been out here in the corporate world or just try to communicate with your friends. When you're trying to have communication with somebody, whether it's verbal or through text message, man, you know how much time is wasted waiting on someone to respond? So now 60 days, 30 of those days are wasted waiting for someone to get back to you. You know what I'm saying? That's impossible. And the thing is this, when I was talking about those 60 days, this is what I said. The only way that could possibly work is if Steven Espinoza, Al Heyman, Earl Spence, and Terence Crawford, and whoever the hell is representing him over there at BLK Prime, right? If the two teams start talking right now, they need to start talking right now. They need to have an agreement in place, a soft agreement in place. So if Earl Spence beats Thurman, then Crawford can come in the ring and they can announce the fight. But Espinoza comes out here and Espinoza says, well, there was it was such a complicated process. We're not sure exactly going forward. We know that we need to start from ground zero. That's what Espinoza said. Where I'm like, shit, pick up at the 50% point. That's what I would do. There should be a lessons learned register. There should be something there, some kind of account where they can go back and say, hold on, let's look in here, see what went wrong, what worked out. Okay, these are things that worked out. Let's put those back in place. Now we're at the 50% point. Let's pick up from there and start to renegotiate. But no, Espinoza is basically telling us, get the fight out your brain without saying that, because now they want to start off from scratch. Now, if they start discussions now, then it can work. Yeah, if they start off now, it can work, man. But it doesn't sound like that's happening. So again, this is why I don't think the fight's going to happen. Now, so I just told you, Errol Spence has an uphill battle, right? He's got to fight killers in order to remain a champion. But Errol Spence's biggest fight is making that weight. Errol Spence struggle to make 147 is probably more of a challenge than Devin Haney getting down to 135. Errol Spence tortures himself. I know he said he's always kind of managed his own diet and nutrition, and he's been able to make the weight. He hired some help last time. It's easy, but look at Errol Spence in between fights, man. Y'all telling me Errol Spence not walking around here about 225 pounds? You trying to tell me Errol Spence not walking around here like 225 pounds? Come on. Errol Spence don't want to get down to 147. So again, Errol Spence has an uphill battle. Now you look at Terence Crawford. What does he have to fight? Who does he have to fight? Okay, we know what is carved out if Errol Spence keeps winning and chooses to campaign at 147. He's got to fight killers. Who fought that is? Okay, but understand, for Terence Crawford, what have the sanctioning bodies, the key decision makers, the big top guys in boxing, what have they left Terence Crawford? Nothing. Forcing that man to where he may have to move up, or Terence Crawford can say, you know what? I'll fight whoever my mandatory is, Rocha, Cobb, whoever it ends up being. And then Crawford may say, you know what? Bob Arum blocked the Pacquiao fight. Pacquiao, with his big feet, he's talking about coming back and fighting, challenging Spence or Crawford, right? Don't be surprised if Crawford, later in the year, after he gets past his mandatory, Crawford fights Pacquiao. I better pay attention, man. Also, there have been talks of, what's his name, man? Josh Taylor, what's it called? Champion in recess, leaving them belts at 140, bubbling up, challenging Terence Crawford, fighting in the UK. There have been talks of Crawford potentially fighting Conor Benn, because now you see Eddie Hearn is trying to posture Conor Benn for a comeback fight. Although the WBO dropped Conor Benn's ass out of their rankings, which they should have. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, boxing's corrupt, so we'll see. Let me check out some of the comments. This is Rob. What's up? The Book of Negro says, yeah, that's excessive. It is, man. Paul Allen, Spence has 2 youngins. Spence has 3. He has a little boy and 2 girls. Boots, Ortiz, and Stan Eunice, 3 good fights if Bud doesn't materialize. Yeah, I agree. Those are, hey, Paul, those are challenging fights, man. Paul Allen, put some respect on this man's name. Hit them likes. Thank you, Paul. Hey, if that's what is important here, is likes and stuff, you know, because hey, I'm new to this. Hit those likes. Make sure you subscribe. CTC, Connecting the Culture. Whose fault that is? He's blaming Paco. I guess you're blaming Terence Crawford. Hey, I will say this, right? Terence Crawford, he made a management decision because he's his own manager, right? He's like his own Al Heyman. He's managing, promoting, advising, doing all that, right? Hey, man, he made a choice that I think was best for him, but I'll be honest, I think he should have waited those two months or whatever it was just to fight Spence. I do. I think he should have. But, you know, he did what he did. He made his $10 million. He's got kids. I understand, but I don't have to agree. But I understand what he did. I mean, I got 4 boys. And if I have an opportunity to go out here and immediately grab $10 million for half a fight, because that's what Bud Crawford got paid, reportedly, $10 million for half a fight. Knowing that it was going to happen on this day, he didn't have to worry about no negotiating, BSing. Went over there to Evanescence and said, this is what I'm going to give you. There was no negotiating with Evanescence. I'm going to give you this, take it or leave it. They get the opportunity. Deal done. So it is what it is. But I would have waited the 2 months. But what's foul about it is Terence Crawford was having those talks with those guys, you know, months out. You know what I'm saying? So he already kind of had a pulse on the direction he was going to go if things didn't work out with Spence. So that I think he's not obligated to tell Al Heyman, PBC, Spence anything, and I get that he doesn't have to, but it's courteous. You know what I'm saying? Even though I don't think they handled Crawford fairly, I think they treated him like he was just dumb, ignorant to the process, has no idea about what he's doing. Some of the questions he was asking to me were fair questions, you know, but at the end of the day, that left a little sour taste in their mouth as well. You know what I mean? You come out here and already have a plan B and C. That's no fault of that's not wrong. I think that's smart to have a plan B and C. But it is what it is. Well, this is Rob. Crawford didn't offer Vanessian the deal. BLK Prime did. We had to stop saying Bud offered Vanessian the fight. Well, I understand what you're saying, but the way I understood it is Bud, BLK had discussions and it went over. And I only hear Bud talk, so you may be right. There probably is a better way to deliver that, saying that BLK worked the deal. But I'm sure there was some talks with Bud before any of that. So, but I understand what you're saying. This is Rob. I'm not against CTC says I'm not against Bud at all. I was saying the Spence fault for blowing up between the fights. Oh, okay, yeah, man. You can't sit there and mismanage your weight. You guys look at what's happening with Adrian Broner. Adrian Broner walking around about 200 pounds. Look at the amount of weight he had to cut down. Red Catch wanted to come in the ring at 135. Crawford then Broner, they agreed to 144. Then Broner wanted to bubble the weight up to 147. The Vanessian's promoter pulled him out the fight. Red Catch promoter pulled him out the fight. Red Catch is pissed off now because that was a huge opportunity. To me, they should have let Red Catch fight Adrian Broner. I think Red Catch has a good chance against Adrian Broner, but it is what it is now. So come down to Hank Lundy. So now Hank Lundy, to me, may be a bit more of a challenge than Red Catch. The Book of Negroes, BLK Prime, aka Daniel Kinahan. Hey, they on Kinahan's ass. Y'all know that. They are on Kinahan, man. I hope people are turning on him. I hope we start to get some answers on that Kinahan guy because of that whole thing with Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. I'm not going to get into that, but I hope they get the right people to turn against him and talk about his involvement in boxing so we can flush out the Coogan Cashiers, the Bob Arams, you know, all of those guys in boxing, the whole Fury and all that. I want to know because if Fury didn't do anything foul, there was no influence by the mob, we need to know that. But if there was, we need to know that too. Chinchilla says Roberto Duran and Ricky Fatton both will blow up. Oh yeah, we know Roberto Duran head back to Panama. He get that arroz con pollo and all that steak, and he'd eat that shit up. Said I don't see Spence beating Thurman skill-wise. Keith's overall better fighter. Take your emotions out. Hey, so is nobody really giving Keith Thurman a chance? Come on, man. Keith Thurman, no one's going to give him a chance against Spence? I give Keith Thurman a chance against Spence, man. The first 4 to 5 rounds, that lateral movement, and Keith Thurman can stop on a dime. This is what I see happening with Keith Thurman and Earl Spence. After round 5 and 6, I think it's all downhill for Keith Thurman. I don't think he's going to get knocked out, but I think he'll get on his bicycle and run. There'll be boos, and he'll leave such a sour taste in everyone's mouth that Keith Thurman can never return to the ring. Okay? Simple. But in those first 4 to 6 rounds, I say especially those first 4, Keith Thurman comes out fast. He come out the beltway swinging. And that's the time, in my opinion, to catch Spence, because Spence does come out fast too. But I just think with that movement, you look at what happened here with, what's his name? Boots Ennis, right? Kind of similar to Earl Spence, kind of fight he had to fight when he fought this guy, Karen Chikadze, the Ukrainian. But that Ukrainian got on his bicycle. He's not Keith Thurman. I think Keith Thurman is better, but he was able to stop on a dime and fire. Keith Thurman can stop on a dime and let his shots go. So let's be fair to Keith Thurman that early in those rounds where he has his stamina, that's where he's the most dangerous. You know who else used to be able to do that? What's his name? Miguel Cotto. Miguel Cotto, he was more trying to chop you down, body work. But when he had to get on his toes in box, he was hell. De La Hoya, get on his toes in box, he's a problem. You look at even Tank Davis. Tank Davis, when he gets on his toes in box, special fighter. And he can do it. You saw he had to do it against Pitbull Cruz. So what I'm saying is not every boxer can actually, not every boxer is a boxer puncher. Not every boxer can be moving laterally, stop on a dime, and let hard shots go like Keith Thurman can. And I think with that lateral movement and Spence moving, advancing towards him, what we're going to see happening is similar to Boots and the guy Karen Chikazian, where Chikazian was catching Boots with some shots and had Boots' head all over the place. But Boots was beating him down. Chikazian felt that power when he got on his bicycle. So, you got to be fair to Boots. Boots won that fight, no problem. But he was getting hit with some shots that I think we're all surprised to see. You know what I'm saying? And I think with Keith Thurman, he hits harder. And I think if he touches Spence early in that fight with those damn hooks, and, sometimes Keith throws wide, but his timing is impeccable. So if he times it just right, I think Keith Thurman can pull off a serious upset. And then after that, we still can't celebrate, because if Keith Thurman beats Earl Spence, then the WBC, they're going to sit back and figure out whether then Keith Thurman, does he get the welterweight title? Does he not get it? Is he going to keep fighting at 147? What are we going to do now? That's crazy. So what we have is they're trying to feed us a shit sandwich, man. And I think it's crap. I think it's crap what they're doing in boxing right now, what they're doing to Thurman, what they're doing to Spence. Because at the end of the day, the WBC, they're sanctioning this fight. It's the WBC putting this fight on, right? But damn, Keith Thurman's a mandatory. Nobody beat one time. And they're not even going to give this man an opportunity to win his belt back. So what sense does it make to have Keith Thurman fight Earl Spence at 154 if it's not for the belt? And if it's not going to fulfill the mandatory for the WBC mandatory at welterweight. It just doesn't make sense. So as a result, it leaves all of us in the boxing community trying to figure it out. Well, maybe Keith Thurman can't make 154. Make 147. Maybe it's Keith Thurman. He's been out so long, he needs to fight at 154. Earl Spence, we know he struggles with weight. He just supposedly had a car accident, right? Supposedly had an injured leg, right? These are things that supposedly happened. I believe they happened. I don't think Spence would lie. But, they got these conspiracy theorists out there who are saying that Keith Thurman just happened to conveniently get in a car accident on the same day that Terence Crawford was fighting Evander Holyfield. I don't buy into that. I just don't think Keith Thurman would play with that. Spence would play with that, seeing what he went through a few years ago with that horrible car accident. So, but then again, it's all up in the air. We don't know what direction they're going to go. It's ridiculous. But at the end of the day, look what we're talking about. There's a lot going on in the world of Earl Spence. What's going on in the world of Crawford? I'm telling you, man, that Spence and Crawford fight is not going to happen. It's not going to happen. This is Rob says, Thurman hasn't said nothing since the reports came out. Interested to see what he's going to say about it. And this is Rob. I'm going to tell you, right? This is something I know for a fact. This isn't me making nothing up. There's a guy who lives out there in Clearwater, Florida, and I have two friends I went to junior high and high school with. They live in Clearwater, Florida. They're not into boxing or nothing like that, but they're out there. They still play ball and all that. But they did tell me that they ran into they were out there at a park. Keith Thurman's playing basketball with some friends or whatever, man. And Keith Thurman wouldn't talk about what exactly is going on with when he's fighting or who he's fighting. But they were pressing him. And he said what they were asked, okay, are you fighting Earl Spence? Because it's out there now, they're supposed to fight. And all he said, Keith Thurman said was, all I know is if I end up fighting Earl Spence, I'm going to hold my ground. And then we're going to find out something along the lines like, if he's the truth. So Keith Thurman, my understanding, because there's no interviews from Keith Thurman. So again, you take this with a grain of salt. There's nothing going on out here. Keith Thurman, that could be a good thing or a bad thing, right? He could be out there working. But Keith Thurman plans on holding his ground. Now, you guys be honest. Let's be honest. What happens if Keith Thurman, one time, who hits hard, Earl Spence is strong as hell too. If they stand in the center of the ring and they have a shootout, who you think gets banged up? Well, we know about chins and everything else. Now, when I say they go into a shootout, that means the body's involved too. Not everything is sitting there headshots. That means the body's involved too. That means the arms. That means the chest. Let me hit you in your neck. I sparred a lot. You learn some shit in sparring, man. I'm hitting you wherever I can hit you, especially if you're stronger. If I find you touching me up, I'm hitting you wherever. And that's what Earl Spence does. He breaks your body down. Let's be real. If they get into a shootout, right, which this is what Keith Thurman is saying, I want a shootout. We can find out if Earl Spence is really the truth. Who wins that shootout? Thurman had a knockout since you cut his hair. Yeah, Thurman, that man hairline, he had that George Jefferson going on, didn't he? Inu versus Cool Boy Steph prediction. I got Inu, man. Cool Boy Steph is going to end up like Fulton. He's going to end up like Rashidi Ellis. He's going to get caught. He's going to get caught. That's what's going to happen. Inu is like walking violence. If Inu catches you, you're in trouble. And I don't think Inu can be hurt by Cool Boy Steph. I think Inu beats all those guys. Bully Bog Fighting says Tank knocked out Barrios and he's 135. Thurman couldn't. That's because Thurman wasn't holding his ground. But what we did see is Thurman was barely touching Barrios on the top of his head and had that man dancing salsa in the ring. So Thurman still got the pop. But if he stands and holds his ground, Thurman can put you out of it. That hasn't really been his game in a while because he's fighting like a Porter and Garcia, and then he disappeared to oblivion. The mega fight is going to be, Addison Pyre says, the mega fight is going to be Keith Thurman versus Bud Crawford. Man, I think that's the direction it's going. Letitia McCulley says, of course, Crawford is being blackballed as he dared to take on the status quo. He dared to go for change, where the boxer was the main person, not the promoter. PBC Showtime wanted to stamp that. Well, Letitia, thank you for joining the chat. We know how much you like Terence Crawford. And I don't disagree with you. We kind of talked about that before you jumped on. Yeah, they didn't. Crawford wasn't afforded the kind of respect that would be given to your so-called promoters, managers, man. And I think that affected some of the negotiations as well as Crawford kind of having a plan B and C and deciding to execute his plan B and C. Do you think Keith will bang out with Earl? I think he will. You better do it in the first couple of rounds because, again, if Earl Spence, if they get past round 4 or 5, I think Keith Thurman could be in trouble because Spence gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And this is the other thing. They're fighting at 154 now, right? This is something we got to keep in mind. These guys are fighting at 154. So that could mean that that Spence may be stronger. But that also means, for those who think Spence is just going to come and just break Thurman down, that could mean that Thurman has more punch resistance. People don't talk about that. Thurman beats Cheryl Spence, Thurman wins. So I think Thurman has a good chance. I think he has a good chance in that fight. Thurman power's gone. It depends on how he's training because Thurman knows he's not going to be in a tickling contest against Earl Spence. When you got fighters whose backs are against the wall, especially elite fighters, we can't come now and say Thurman's not elite, all right? Because when he got into a Pacquiao, if Pacquiao wouldn't have knocked him down, Thurman wins the fight, and Thurman is God, right? But he got knocked down. Pacquiao wears like a size 15 shoe. Man's only 5'3", right? He stepped on Thurman's foot, but they catch him with a shot. So he knocked him down, and Thurman's face looked like he had checked out for about 3-4 seconds. It is what it is. But if Thurman would have beat Pacquiao, nobody would be talking about anything but Thurman's over. But Thurman just married, kids, man, inactivity. I understand what he's doing, but man, he disappeared from the sport of boxing at the wrong time. I mean, he was on top of the world. He was out here, man. I mean, unified, and then it is what it is. Everybody's priorities change. You know what I'm saying? Ronald Murphy says, banned for being too much of a black role model, wife, kids, and he loves them dearly. You talking about Ronald Murphy? You talking about Crawford, or you talking about Thurman? Because both of those guys, I think sometimes people can hold that against these guys who put their priorities into their family and not into boxing. And sometimes these people tend to kind of ignore that because all they want to do is see their favorite fighter in the ring fighting. Cryptozara says, how big of a factor do you think Thurman's footwork will play a part in the fight? I think Thurman's footwork is a huge factor. It's like Roy Jones. What do you say? You must have forgot, right? I think because Thurman hasn't been active, I think some people must have forgot. I also think, and you tell me what you guys think, right? When you look at Keith Thurman 6-7 years ago, there's been a huge turnover in boxing fans. So a lot of the people who are coming on now, they don't know about Keith Thurman's resume. They don't know about how he was out here knocking people out and getting in the ring and just looking spectacular and super accurate, right? Now, his instincts in his mind, right? Keith Thurman, you can see when he fought Pacquiao, when he fought Barrios, when he fought Josecito Lopez. You can see in Keith Thurman's mind, he knows what he wants to do, but his body doesn't react like it used to. He's not as instinctive as he used to because he's not active. It's the same thing, whatever sport you're playing. Look at Tiger Woods. We're talking about golfing, right? Tiger Woods, inactive, comes back to the sport. Oh, his career is over. Oh, he's this because Tiger Woods isn't out there, man, hitting birdies and shit. But as he got back into it, man picks up another one of those Masters, got him another green coat. Oh, he's back. So you got to be active. It doesn't matter what sport you're in. But I think with Keith Thurman and his footwork, trust me, if for Keith Thurman, for him to return right now, with all the fights, any opponent that he can be fighting, the one opponent that Keith Thurman is going to really rise to the occasion for, whether he wins, I don't know, is Errol Spence. Keith Thurman does not want Errol Spence to beat him. And Errol Spence sure as hell doesn't want Keith Thurman to beat him. And that's why I think that this Keith Thurman and Errol Spence, those first 4 to 5, don't be surprised if the fight ends the first 5 rounds. Because I just don't see anyone wanting to give up ground. They're both going to be trying to control the real estate. It's going to be a foot fight. Because now you got the southpaw fighter, Errol Spence. He's going to try to hold his ground, paw with that jab, shoot that left. Keith Thurman is going to be right there, kind of side to side, moving around, jumping in with some short shots, throwing his jab, trying to get that right hand in. He's going to loop his hook around, try to get around the high guard of Spence. So what you're going to see is these guys in those first 4 to 6 rounds, I think it could possibly end those first 4 to 6. And if it does, I'm going to be honest with you, man. I think Keith Thurman may catch Spence because we talk about Keith Thurman. He has a tendency to throw wide shots. But those wide hooks are very beneficial when you're fighting a guy with a high guard. Now, the thing is, when Errol Spence has that high guard, this is something else he does. Errol Spence's chin isn't in the air. He has that chin tucked. And he's coming behind the high guard, the jab, the straight left, right? And then he's catching you and he starts banging. When Errol Spence rips to your body, it's violence, absolute violence. And Keith Thurman can't afford that. We saw what Collazo did to Keith Thurman. He hit Keith Thurman with the perfect straight left. And Keith Thurman, man, Keith Thurman hauled ass the rest of that fight. He never really recovered. And we saw what happened with Keith Thurman, man. Josecito Lopez almost got him out of there. Barrios almost got him out of there. So obviously, that's going to be a target area for Errol Spence, right? Got a big target on Keith Thurman's midsection. The problem is, for Errol Spence to want to commit to those shots, there's an inherent risk of being countered. And we know Keith Thurman, if he catches you anywhere, especially on the top of the head, he'll throw your equilibrium off. And we know Errol Spence, if he gets hit with a clean shot, he can start doing salsa in the ring. He starts dancing around the ring. He can get hurt. That's all I'm saying. So they both have to commit. You can't get anyone doing like Anthony Joshua against Usyk, half committing to your shots because you're worried about what's coming back because it's ineffective. And that's why Anthony Joshua looked crazy in those fights because it was ineffective. You can't half commit to your shots. And I don't think Errol Spence or Keith Thurman are going to half commit. But after they get past round 5 or 6, if anyone's going to be half committing, I think it's Keith Thurman, because Earl Spence gets stronger and stronger. The volume of punches just continues to increase, and he's not going to stop, especially if you stop punching. Earl Spence starts punching even more. Okay, it's like he smells blood, and it is what it is, man. Let's get through some of the comments. Thurman fought 10-ounce gloves. Anybody knows you get hit in the chin, the knees buckle. Yeah, for most people, man, unless you're what's his name out here, man? Unless you're Joe Joyce. Joe Joyce, you have to shoot Joe Joyce, man. How big of a factor? Yeah, so we talked about the footwork. Crawford is all about what a boxer should be. Yeah, Crawford's good, man. We know you love Crawford. Thurman can stop Spence if he clips that chin. Absolutely. Because if Thurman, this is the thing, right? If Thurman was to hurt Spence, which we know Spence is in great condition, right? Special fighter. But if Thurman hurts Spence, I don't think Thurman's going to care what the referee says. He's going to keep letting his hands go and get some extra shots in until the referee can get over there and get him off of him. See, that's the thing that these fighters need to do. I'm not saying fight dirty, but make the referee do his job. The referee gets paid for a reason. Don't stop punching. Shit, make that referee get in there and pry you off of him. Give you a warning. Give you a second warning. But get you a couple shots in that can further damage your already hurt opponent. I think Keith Thurman will do that. Ugas wasn't cut from that cloth. Ugas was a nice guy. Ugas looked like he was almost ready to go pick up Earl Spence's mouthpiece and give it to him. Here you go, amigo. Nah, man. You should have jumped on him and beat him and let the referee come and take him, throw you across the ring like he's Mills Lane or Arthur McConty Jr. Arthur McConty Jr. will kick somebody's ass in the ring. You know what I'm saying? You don't listen to him, he'll throw your ass out in the third row. Okay, so Killer Instinct gone. You think the Killer Instinct's gone by Thurman? Some people don't agree with you, Bully Block. See, Bully Block, man, he's not giving Thurman a chance. Letitia McCulley says, if Thurman has been domesticated, then Spence has been chickenized. Addison Pyre says, a lot of people's feelings are going to be hurt. I've been watching Keith Thurman for 10 years. I don't see how someone could just come in here and say Keith Thurman, with everything that's at stake, is just going to come in there and at least not put forth a valiant effort and at least earn the respect of everyone in boxing and the fans. But you got to give Thurman a real chance. Earl Spence has never fought that elite level. Trust me, Keith Thurman has been focused and he's ready. It's gonna push. It's gonna test both of them. It really is. I'll ask you guys this, right? Since we're talking about Keith Thurman and Spence, and we've talked about who has Spence fought, who has Crawford fought. Has anyone? Do you think any of Spence's opponents could beat Keith Thurman? That's the question. Any of Spence's opponents, do you think they can beat Keith Thurman? While I read through the comments, let's see if somebody posts, right? Earl Spence has never fought that elite. We talked about also Keith has taken punishment his whole career. Oh, he hasn't really taken much punishment. He's fresh. Yeah, Keith is fresh. But the downside is when you're not active and you're not punching, you're not running, you're not moving around the ring, it's the risk of developing arthritis and different things with your body. So that soreness kicks in and it can make it hard. So yeah, he's fresh. He hasn't taken punishment, but his body has suffered because of the inactivity. So it's like a dual-edged sword. You know what I'm saying? Let's see what he says. Spence will do his usual and resort to low blows. Hey, you know what I say in boxing, man? If the referee lets you do it, then do it. The referee has to do his job. You got to make him do his job. You can't be here like Shane Mosley, wanting to touch up gloves every 5 seconds, and then people get tired of it and punch you in the mouth. Shane Mosley did that with Pacquiao. Pacquiao's a nice guy. He got tired and punched Shane Mosley in the mouth. He was doing that with Mayweather. Mayweather got tired of all the touching gloves, and he punched him in the mouth. And I can tell you from sparring, when you start really putting the heat on somebody, they start wanting to touch gloves all the time. And that's probably when you should just stop it because, you hear some people, it's like they're cowarding. It's like they're kind of giving up too much respect now. That's where you just stop the sparring because they're mentally, they don't want to do it no more. Keith Thurman, Pyre says, Keith Thurman's footwork, power, and awkward style will leave Spence guessing. It's for Spence, it's for Derek James. who's an outstanding coach, for Derrick James to figure out what in the world they need to do, because they know that Keith Thurman is going to move around, and Earl Spence is good at cutting off the ring, but he can't just cut off the ring. When he cuts off the ring, to me, he needs to feint at the head and shoot to the body. And that's how you can sit there and nullify that movement of Keith Thurman. Crawford sued Bob Arum, maybe a reason for him being blackballed. Well, Ronald Murphy, look, when Crawford sued Bob Arum, there was, if you have something contracted, then it doesn't matter if you want to pay that person or not. Part of the contract, you know what I'm saying? You got to pay him. But if Crawford said some stuff about him being an African-American fighter and feeling that he wasn't managed the same way Bob Arum was managing other fighters. Now, what I will say is this. Bob Arum, he came out like Tim Bradley the other day. Tim Bradley was talking with a lot of emotion, call Tank Davis a piece of ish, saying all kind of crap, right? Which I don't think he should have done that in front of the camera. Bob Arum came out and said, Terence Crawford, he can't sell. I've lost millions on him. If he wants to leave, he can leave. But the problem is, when he talks about Lomachenko, I've done videos on this. You can go look. He's hugging Lomachenko. Oh, he's like a son with friends of Ukrainian. He's doing that. He's one step away from tongue kissing Lomachenko, all right? So if you're a fighter or you're a person, right, you sit back and watch how he's sitting here treating these other fighters. Sometimes the first thing a person wants to look at is, I'm not getting something, has to be because of the color of my skin, or it has to be because of my gender, or it has to be because of my sexual orientation, or it has to be because of my whatever, right? But then you got to understand, and this is the thing with Terence Crawford, where it's hard for me to feel sorry for that man. De La Hoya left Bob Arum, right? The Golden Child was getting paid like 10 times more than Mayweather was. And De La Hoya still left because Bob Arum was sucking his eyeballs out. Mayweather was over there. Bob Arum went on record. Listen. This is the shit that annoys me, right? Before Terence Crawford we even knew about him, before he even signed with Terence Crawford, Mayweather left Bob Arum. Mayweather said, this guy was trying to pay me. They had renegotiated like a deal, like a 8 or 9 fight deal, something like that. I could be off on the numbers, but let's just say he had renegotiated a deal for like $750,000 a fight. And Mayweather saw that De La Hoya was getting like $15 million a fight. And he's like, now my numbers could be off, so don't quote me. But what I'm telling you is just a disparity in what Bob wanted to give Mayweather and what he was giving De La Hoya. And Mayweather was like, nah, this is bullcrap. I should be getting paid that kind of money. Anyway, managed to get himself out the deal, come down Al Heyman. People don't realize Al Heyman was involved in a lot of that, right? So anyway, Mayweather bounces. Bob Arum goes on record, right? This is why I don't feel bad for Crawford. This is what Bob Arum said. Now, if we know about it, Crawford or his team should have known about this, right? He says, I failed Mayweather because I didn't understand, he said, the urban appeal. Basically, he's saying he didn't know how to market to, black people, whatever, man. Minorities, okay? So when you have someone who's a promoter who comes out and says that, what are you doing going over there? Now, I'm not saying Bob Arum is a racist. I'm not saying any of that. What I'm saying is he's telling you he struggles with that. I'm not quite sure. Look, Floyd Mayweather is not Muhammad Ali. Terence Crawford is not Muhammad Ali. This is 2023, man. This isn't the 1960s and 70s anymore. You understand? Not everybody's going to rally behind you because there was so much going on during those time frames where Bob Arum was promoting, a Muhammad Ali. A lot of people gravitated to Muhammad Ali, but there was things outside of boxing that people went from maybe not agreeing with to agreeing with and getting behind and supporting them that made it easy for Bob Arum. And then Don King came along, it is what it is. But what I'm saying is Terence Crawford should have understood that. And maybe after he signed with Bob Arum, he had the opportunity to break lock with that, but he chose to re-sign with him. And that really hurt him, okay? So I don't know if it's for me to sit here, man. I don't know if I really feel bad for Crawford, but I understand suing what's his name, Bob Arum, because hey, if you owe the man money, you owe the man money. And also, you the one who came up, Bob Arum, and said he can't sell. You've lost millions, so you've slandered his name, You kind of defamed his character, and you hurt his opportunity to go out here and sign with another promoter. Now, we all know Fast Eddie, greedy Eddie Hearn, right? Fast Eddie will jump at an opportunity to snatch some money. Eddie Hearn is snatcher him. They're all about snatching money, especially all that damn debt he created over there at the zone. If Eddie Hearn won't sign Terence Crawford, then there's a problem. Eddie Hearn won't even sign him. The guys over at PBC won't even sign him. Now, I think that's all thanks to Bob Arum. So when we look at it from that perspective, yeah, I think Terence Crawford I think he has every right to sue Bob Arum, and hopefully he gets some money because Bob Arum hurt that man. BLK Prime, blessing in disguise for Terence Crawford. BLK Prime, blessing in disguise for Adrian Broner. Okay. Letitia McCulley says, nah, Bob would take Crawford back in a heartbeat. You know that. I think if they could sit there and work things out, maybe, but I don't know, man. I mean, we know Crawford. Crawford's not Teofimo Lopez and Teofimo Sr. You remember those two clowns? They were over there with Triller. Oh, yeah, Triller. We got J-Lo over here. We got Mark Anthony. This is where it's at. This is where the real money is. And all that crap. They said all this negative stuff about Top Rank. All that Triller crap flopped. Then they went back to Uncle Bob. Them guys went back over there, man. Tails tucked between their legs. Had nothing but nice thing to say about Uncle Bob. But I just don't think, what's his name? Terence Crawford is built like that. I think Terence Crawford's like, nah, I'm not doing that. But do I think Bob Arum would take him back? I think he would, in hopes that Terence Crawford would sit there and pull that damn lawsuit he has against him. But there's going to have to be some money on the table for Crawford to do that. I just don't think he'll do it. To have that kind of freedom, to have that kind of autonomy to do what you want, I just it's kind of hard going back. I'm going to tell you, I'm retired, right? I did 25 years in the military. I haven't worked in 4, but I'm retired. Life is good, right? But for me to go back out here and work, I mean, it's got to be something to where I'm happy with and I'm doing what I want. But I don't want to be somewhere now, and I retired telling everybody what to do. But for me to go now and someone tell me what the hell to do, get out of here, man. It's got to be something I want to do and where I'm happy. And I'm saying that because Terence Crawford, he's got to be happy. And I just don't think he'll be happy over there with Bob Arum. Allison Pryor says, Sean Porter went to the hospital with concussions after fighting Keith. Yeah. He got touched up. I'm surprised Porter didn't go down. He got hit a couple of times. His knees buckled in that fight. I run New York, I guess, right? Have they officially announced this fight yet? Which fight are you talking about? Spence and Thurman? Yeah, they've announced that it's supposed to be happening, but as far as a date, we don't know. We know it's in April. But yeah, I mean, all indicators are pointing that direction. Letitia McCulley, if Ugas was not taking a dive, Ugas may have had a chance. I don't think Ugas took a dive against Earl Spence. I think Ugas got, that eye wasn't a dive. You know what I'm saying? He got banged up. I just don't know. I know why Ugas didn't let his hands go. I'm going to tell you why. It's the same thing with Adrian Broner. Similar styles, man. Counter punchers. Low volume. So if someone is letting their hands go and has the kind of power and volume of shots, that freezes you. And now your style of fighting, you can't execute because this person's letting his hands go, so you go into a defensive mode. And once you stop punching against a boxer puncher, they're going to punch more. And that's what happened to Ugas. And that's why that eye got banged up. You look at and Earl Spencer, that left hand, man, look at what he's done to people's eyes, It's that left hand and their right eye. It's like they become best friends in that ring. Thurman, this is Rob says, Thurman beat most of Earl's opponents already. Thurman laid the blueprint. Yeah, no argument there. But do you think Ugas can beat Keith Thurman? This is Rob and anyone on here, right? That's my question. Do you think Ugas can beat Keith Thurman? Keith is fast. Ronald Murphy says Keith is fast. That's his chance. Yeah, absolutely. That's what I said. Them first 4 to 6 rounds could be a problem for Earl Spence. Allison Pryor says Spence fought Keith's leftovers. Yeah, he fought a couple of the guys, man. A couple of them. That's correct. Pryor says Keith is not just fast. He's powerful. He's big, and he moves a lot. Spence can't bully Keith. A boxer puncher, man, is your worst nightmare. You look at what's his name? Floyd Mayweather. People can say what they want about Floyd Mayweather, especially Pretty Boy. Hey man, nobody is just out here. Nobody, even before he retired, they weren't just running in on Floyd Mayweather. Plus, he's fighting February 25th. If you guys didn't know, he's going to be having another exhibition. But a boxer puncher is a problem, man. You just don't run in on him. You look at Erislandy Lara. The guy moves around a lot, but when he stops on that dime and lets those shots go, people get hurt. And we know what happened with him and Canelo. He just wasn't letting his hands go enough because obviously Canelo, his hands are special. He's got some power. Pyre says, I like Spence. His personality, chill, laid back dude. Good luck to both of them. Yeah, I feel you on that. Could be that the fact that he's growing up in the South and then his dad is from Jamaica. So most Southern people are kind of laid back anyway. And, the Caribbean people kind of easygoing. Letitia McCulley says, at that time, Hearn was trying to get on Bob's good side by saying all the nonsense. We all know Bob and Eddie Hearn. This is what happened, right? Eddie Hearn is just in the worst position ever, man. Bob and Eddie Hearn, they couldn't even make things work out. All the money on the table for AJ, Fury, everything else, all of that. Eddie Hearn lying. I mean, Eddie Hearn is just proven to be an habitual liar, man. Eddie Hearn is just a dangerous person. And if you look at what Eddie Hearn did with Conor Benn and Eubank Jr., nobody wants to mess with him right now. And Eddie Hearn, I think, is in a horrible space. Like, nobody wants to mess with him. You look at the numbers coming out from the zone saying they're $6 billion in debt. Couple billion of those dollars Eddie Hearn is at fault for. It's just Eddie Hearn's just in a horrible space right now. Ronald Murphy, don't forget, boxing is a system, and there are people in control. Of course, those key decision makers, and what I call the big top, man. Best video says you're talking in circles. How am I talking in circles? Ronald Murphy, Thurman Spence, May 27th. This is Rob. I got Thurman beating Ugas all day. Okay. But again, so what do you think when it comes to Crawford being blackballed? So what should happen now? Right? Because you got it where something got to happen. He got to figure it out because he's not going to get a big name. And they're trying to force the fight, Crawford, to bubble up to 154. They're making it impossible for them to sit there and have a fight between him and Spence with that 60-day negotiation time period. But people are going to call Bud Crawford a duck. People are going to sit there and call Earl Spence a duck. Some people are calling Earl Spence a duck right now for him fighting Keith Thurman. Spence doesn't have a choice. So if you were in Crawford's position, right, everybody's turning their back on you. And I get it. A lot of people feel that Crawford created his own misery by not taking the Spence fight. And I get it. But what do you do? Right? What do you do? Right? That's the question. What, at this point right now, going forward, what does Crawford do? Because really, he's got to be innovative because he's not going to get help from anybody, period. You look at what Espinoza came out here and said about Terence Crawford. He didn't speak highly of him. He, in a roundabout way, was saying Terence Crawford was impossible. He wasn't familiar with the process on negotiating terms, being in a position of a promoter, self-representing, and he made the process harder than it had to be and drag out longer than what it had to be. And as a result, he should blame himself for him and Spence not coming to terms a lot sooner. That's what Espinoza, and I'm kind of paraphrasing a lot of what he said and looking at what he said to try to pull out his intentions and true meaning. That's what he was saying. So they are not looking forward to going back to negotiation with Terence Crawford because they wasted a lot of time too. And everyone is pissed off at Crawford. Letitia says, the Zone got the global rights for boxing for the weekend fights in the UK. I think Hearn's time with the Zone is now on the clock. Of course. Nathaniel Roberts says, Crawford wants more money. He wants more of the purse than Spence. He's demanding more, even though Spence is a bigger name and has more belts. My understanding is Crawford agreed to take less money than Spence. I think it was more around that 65-35, 60-40. I think it was like 65-35, something crazy. But I know initially that was a concern. But my understanding is Crawford chose to actually take less money. And I think it only makes sense that he takes less money. I'm not a Crawford fan or Spence fan. I'm just a guy that, let's just be fair here. Crawford does not deserve no damn 50-50 split. And he definitely doesn't deserve 60-40 40 in his favor. He deserved to take less than Spence, in my opinion. Nathaniel Roberts. Crawford needs to move up in weight class and fight one of the Charlo boys or take less and fight Spence. Well, I think that's what's going to happen. I think you're just jumping on, so we kind of talked about it. I think they're going to push Crawford and Spence both. I think they're going to force them out of 147. They're forcing Spence out because, like I said, I know you're just jumping on, because if they're putting him against, the opposition is crazy. He already doesn't want to lose the weight. You think Spence is going to want to hang around and cut down to 147 for 3 more fights? He just doesn't want to do it. And Crawford, you think he wants to keep spinning his wheels, fighting nobodies? Even though he's probably get some good money from BLK Prime, I think they're really trying to push them out of 147 up to 154. And I think Jermell Charlo is going to drop those belts at 154 and go up to 160. That's what I think is going to happen. Absolutely. Ronald Murphy says, let me catch up here. Crawford needs to move up. Yep. But watch that happen. Watch Spence go up to 154 and Jermell jump up to 160. And his brother go up to 168. Look at what Jermall Charlo is talking about. Y'all paying attention to that? This man talking about fighting Caleb Plant. Pay attention to what's going on, man. Look at the movements. Jamal calling out Plant Benavidez. May even think about fighting Andre, right? That's 168. He goes up there. Jermell and Jamal will never fight. Jermell bubbles up. Now, remember, if he decides, you know what, I'm going to take a champion in recess and bubble up to 168 and challenge somebody, he can do that, get an immediate title shot. He goes up to 160, say he wins the title, doesn't turn back. Now he's a champion at 160. Earl Spence comes up to 154. Those belts are free. Earl Spence is going to pick up a belt at 154. Now he's a 2-division champion. Then Terence Crawford comes up. He picks up the belts. But then they're going to be the same thing all over again. They're fighting each other. So if you look at the movements, you can see that Earl Spence and his guys, the Lions only, they could have a plan. But then you also look, so that's one part of it, right? That's one slice of the pie. Then you look at what we talked about with these sanctioning bodies and how they're forcing Earl Spence out by putting killers against him. Then you look at Terence Crawford. They're forcing him out because they're not giving him any real competition for him to go there and have a pay-per-view event and make huge money. So they're like, we're gonna systemically purge you guys out of here since you didn't want to make the fight and you feel like you don't need each other. So we're gonna sit here now. You got Crowley in line. You got everybody in position to when Earl Spence drops those belts to fight and go on and win a title. Everyone's in position for the WBC. You got guys in position for the WBA. You guys in position for the IBF. And for those of you saying that, who's in position for the WBC? Well, if Thurman loses, you got Crowley. Crowley's supposed to be fighting in February. Not sure who yet. I don't know what's going on with that. But that could be something we need to explore too. Why the hell haven't they announced an opponent for Crowley? He's supposed to be fighting for the damn WBC mandatory. Okay, so that's something. What's going on with Crowley? Because they haven't announced his opponent. So pay attention to that. The IBF, we all know Ennis and Villa are fighting. Ennis is right. He's going to probably be the guy there. If Earl Spence drops those belts, he'll pick it up. Then over to the WBA, we already know Ortiz and Stan Eunice, right? Earl Spence moves up, then there. So you see, everyone is already postured to pick up the belt if Earl Spence drops. The only thing where we don't know what's going on with is Terence Crawford. And more than likely, he drops that belt. And then now you got, Rocha. Who knows what they're going to do? I personally want to see Blair Cobb pick up a belt. Y'all may not like Blair Cobb. I like Blair Cobb. But you may see something crazy go on. You may see Yugas pick up a WBO title. So what I'm saying is, if you look, everything is in line for Spence to move up, Jermell to move up, Jamal to move up. Spence gets an opportunity to become a 2-division champion. Crawford bubbles up, he can become a 4-division champion. And then now you look at everyone else who's there, this next generation of talent, they all get to go and fight and pick up belts. The sanctioning bodies get their belts defended, and now they can get back to making the millions of dollars they've been missing out on because Earl Spence and Terence Crawford created a bottleneck from 2021 to 2022. And they're not going to allow that crap in 2023. And that's the big picture. That's not me being biased. You notice when I'm talking, I didn't sit here and talk up Spence. I didn't talk up Crawford. I didn't talk up Thurman. I'm just sitting here trying to be as objective as possible and kind of give you a peek behind my tent flaps on how I see things. And that's just what I see. It's like a puzzle, man. You know, it really is. And just trying to piece it all together. Let's get through the comments. Robert says, great points. Ronald Murphy says, they're all running from Crawford. I think everybody's kind of turned their back on Crawford at this point. I don't think it's because they're scared. I think people are frustrated with him. And they're just not letting him get from underneath that cloud of not taking the Spence fight. Like, they're just cutting Crawford no slack. Nathaniel Roberts says, yeah, because Spence and the Charlo brothers friends, they're not fighting each other. No, man. You got it, Nathaniel Roberts, man. Just if you look at it and just try to have an open mind, it almost makes sense to see it playing out that way. Letitia McCulley, Crawford fights Josh Taylor. How Taylor looks in this upcoming fight will determine that. Yeah, that's absolutely. And Taylor will go right into an immediate title shot fight. He's not going to get Spence. Crawford is the only one there that's kind of languishing, and it could happen. I runs New York. They're scared of Crawford, bottom line. I don't know if they're scared of Crawford, man, but I do know that Crawford has, this man got like 30 knockouts, 31 knockouts out of 38 wins, something like that. Crawford is the man, but I think Crawford slowed a little bit. That's just me, in my opinion. Him against Evanesian, I don't know. I didn't like the way Crawford looked. Still knocked him out, still got the, but then again, I don't know, man. Something else that people don't realize, that there's some controversy, right, behind Crawford's gloves. So that fight that he had with Evanesian, that may get overturned to a no contest. I don't know if y'all realize that. When have y'all seen a pair of gloves just goddamn explode in the ring? I don't care if they were supposed to be defective. I don't care what the company said. You imagine, put yourself in Evanesian's shoes. He lost the fight, but you're in there fighting with somebody. All pieces of the gloves coming off, like your little dog got a hold of them, was just tearing off pieces of the damn foam. The damn referee doesn't know what to do. Then come to find out, I think it was either the referee or someone on that commission. I think it was a referee. Someone said that referee was Terence Crawford's cousin. I don't know how true that is. But all I'm saying is, right, put yourself in Evanesian's shoes. And you in there, this man fighting you, his gloves are just, deteriorating in the ring. Boom, the referee doesn't know what to do. The commission doesn't know what to do, right? And now you sitting there and you take a loss, you get your ass knocked out. You're like, cool, I lost. It is what it is. Then you go home, and then you find out that the damn people, somebody may have been Terence Crawford's oh, man, I'm trying not to laugh on here, boy. God. The damn referee was Terence Crawford's cousin. So if that's true, hey, I'd be pissed off. That's all I'm saying. Because if that would have been Tyson Fury, let me tell you, somebody probably went out there and killed Tyson Fury, man. One of them Wilder fans. But I think they have every right to contest that fight, because they should have changed the man's gloves. I mean, really, it looked like a dog. Really, like, dog. If you have a dog and he start nipping on stuff in the house, he can bite a big piece of foam out the damn glove. You let the fight continue. So that's crazy to me, man. Let's get back to these comments, man. Right again, I go ahead and get his money for these cowards. G Money says, so not Bud fought Boots and Ortiz didn't want to exercise their fight or for the WBO and just wanted to go at it early. Ortiz did. They didn't want Bud. Now I'm gonna be honest with you, man. When you look at, I really think there's more to it than Ortiz not wanting to fight Bud and it's not wanting to fight Bud. What I think it is, I mean, that's sure, right? Because we all watch boxing. If you are a fighter and you have a chance to fight Bud or you have a chance to fight Spence, which one you think is going to give you the most money? Which fight makes the most money? So I think that's what that boils down to. But then again, we can speculate, but no one really knows. But I think it boils down to money. You look at like Virgil Ortiz and Terence Crawford. What kind of numbers do you think that does? Virgil Ortiz and Spence in Dallas. What kind of numbers does that do? Right? They may, I don't know how many, I don't know just how big that AT&T Stadium is, if that's the name of the stadium out there in Dallas. They may have to get some for over 100,000 people to be able to attend, because Virgil Ortiz and Earl Spence in Dallas, real money, okay? But Virgil Ortiz and Terence Crawford, I mean, good for us, the boxing fans, but what money's behind that? And you got to understand, De La Hoya is not stupid. You know what I'm saying? De La Hoya needs his money. Remember, once Canelo left De La Hoya and Schaefer left De La Hoya's, man, he's all over the place. So he needs to make sure that every fight he puts on, when he has the opportunity, that it's a grand slam. And I just think if you're talking about making a fight with Ortiz and somebody, the grand slam is against Earl Spence, not Terence Crawford. And when you talk about Jerome Boots Ennis, I think for us, him and Crawford is a real good fight. But the grand slam financially would probably be Earl Spence. Let me get to some of these Crawfords, man. Some of these comments. Letitia McCulley says, we're all talking about fights that are not happening while the action is all taking place in the UK. Look at the fight this weekend plus the undercard. In case y'all don't know, Letitia McCulley is from the UK. And she follows boxing, and she's very smart on boxing, and she's up on what's going on in the UK, and she's always keeping me on my toes. So glad to have her as part of the community. Then come Catterall versus Taylor. Yeah, that's a hard fight for Taylor. I actually agree with you on that one, teammate. Yes, ma'am. Letitia McCulley, I have not heard that one. Makes sense. Yep. I runs New York. Why would he take the Spence fight if they was already saying it wasn't happening in November, rather 2023? Why would you be mad if he took the fight with the other dude in 22? I think I already said I agree. I understand why Terence Crawford took that fight. I do. I talked about this yesterday, where I was talking about what really is Mayweather's role when it comes to Al Heyman and PBC. Like, why is like Mayweather comes out and he's always talking like he's the decision maker, like he's the guy who's making all the decisions. He's part of the big top. So when Mayweather came out and basically dispelled what Coppinger was saying, I didn't take Mayweather serious. But I tell you what, if he talks now, just like I talked about Adrian Broner talk, I'll listen to him. I'll listen to Mayweather. Obviously, he knew something. But I don't think anyone should be angry at Terence Crawford, disappointed. But when you look at an easy 10 million, I mean, take it. I mean, you know, and then, but be mad this year. Don't be mad at him. Don't be mad at Smith. Be mad at those sanctioning bodies. But at the end of the day, the decision they're making is rooted in the fact that those guys, like I said already, created that damn bottleneck, man. You know what I'm saying? They did, it's almost a year and a half, those belts and those guys not fighting. I think everybody's just beyond it. Spence said he would spin the block. Now when you ask Spence about spinning the block, he talks about he don't know. He has to see what car he can buy. Yeah, I saw when he said that. I really don't know what the hell's going on anymore. You know, all the videos I watch and all the reading that I do. I just think Spence doesn't want to kill himself to get down to 147. And I think he's just got his hopes up on making that fight with Crawford, and that being maybe his last fight, and then going to 154. And I just think it took a lot of wind out of his sail. And I think at the same time, I put it to you this way, right? Say you have someone, you need a ride to the airport, and you have someone who said they're going to come and take you to the airport, and they don't come. Then it happens again. You need to depend on that person again. It gets to the point to where you got someone where you feel like I can't depend on you. You don't want to deal with him anymore. And I think with Earl Spence, he's just in it puts him in a frustrating position because he really wants to fight him, but they don't want, even Steven Espinoza, nobody wants to waste time with Terence Crawford anymore. And I don't believe them. You listen to when they talk. It's along the lines of Terence Crawford marches to the beat of his own drum. He's going to do what he wants. right? It makes you guys like and subscribe to the channel if you get a chance. If you want to donate, cool. I'm not tripping on that. I just appreciate you guys being part of the live and the healthy dialogue. But how many of you would still want to sit here? And that could be another reason for that 60-day window that they impose. It's like, you know what? We're not going to sit here and give you guys a year again. You got 60 days to make it happen. If not, it is what it is. So that now that we're talking, I think we just kind of talked ourselves into helping this make more sense. That could be the reason why they gave them that 60 days opposed to 120 days, 180 days. They're like, nah, you got 60. You've already wasted over a year. So basically, you got yourself a year, you got yourself 14 months, and you need to figure it out. I honestly think, now that we're talking, it could be a little bit more of that. But at the same time, they're still making it impossible for them to make the fight. And that's the thing. They figure that Terence Crawford is high risk. You understand? And remember, high risk can be good or risk can be bad. And in this case, the risk, the bad part of the risk is them not being able to come to an agreement again. And that's another couple months of those belts just kind of being in limbo. Now, the good risk is they come to an agreement, we get an announcement, contract signed, we're in business. But I just think they're more erring to the side of caution. And it's like, hey, let's already have a plan to do something else. I really think that's the case. So let's keep going through the comments, right? This is Rob. Everybody but Fox got their highest pay. They asked Porter. Well, I mean, I'll be honest with you, man. I'm not going to lie. I'm not really sure. I know Porter got good money. I know Crawford got good money because Bob Arum complained about how much money he paid out of his own pocket to Terence Crawford. But as far as before that, I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not going to sit here and lie. But I had to do my due diligence and do some research. So I am going to sort that out. But Letitia McCulley says, then it's just about money, not actually fighting the best. I think Mayweather caused that. It's all about money. You know, I really do. I really do think it's just all about money. These guys want legacy. The only boxer out there, there's one boxer that comes to my mind when I think about legacy. One boxer. That's Devin Haney. You see what that man did? That man went to Australia. His dad wasn't there. Took a horrible a deal with Top Rank, leaving the zone. Devin Haney was all about legacy. That man went over there. He didn't care about sanctioning bodies. He didn't care about how much money he had to pay these fools. Nothing. He was like, I'm out here. I've been doing this since I've been a kid. I want to become undisputed. And he did that. So to me, there's only Devin Haney's. When I think about fighters and fighters actually fighting for legacy right now, I say Devin Haney's he's the first one that comes to mind. And I think at this moment in time right now, I think Tank Davis is looking to fight for legacy as well. I know some people right now probably going to post something crazy in the comments about Tank Davis. Forget the fact that you think he fought tomato cans. I think he's been able to break lock with Mayweather and Mayweather Promotions. And I think it's a good thing that he's looking to fight Haney. He's looking to fight, what's his name? Shakur Stevenson. He's looking to fight, Ryan Garcia next, right? That's supposed to be the fight. He's looking to get in there and maybe fight, what's his name? Teofimo Lopez. And he's thrown out Regis Prograis' name, which I think is just a suicide mission, but he's got the power to, like I said, upset the apple cart. So we gotta be fair to Tank Davis. Tank Davis can fight. But I think for Tank Davis, he doesn't have the experience in that arena where Mayweather fought tough fights. Mayweather made a lot of money. But Mayweather, looking back, he said, all those belts don't matter. Why give all your money to these damn sanctioning bodies? So with Tank, he was trying to navigate him around those pitfalls so Tank can make all the money without having to pay these sanctioning bodies anything. But what happened is Floyd already has the legacy. Floyd's known for just getting in there and just cleaning out divisions. He never became undisputed, but we know that Floyd really the best in any division that he fought in. Tank wants that. And I think Floyd was able to get to the point to make the kind of money he made because of all the work he put in. Tank, I think, would plateau at some point as far as his money earning capabilities if he doesn't go out here and fight tough fights, big name fights. So I think Tank recognizes that. But at the end of the day, 10 years from now, I think he'll look back and say, I understand what Floyd and Leonard were trying to do. I think he will. But right now, I think it's more like tunnel vision. I want to get out here. I'm better than all these guys. I'm going to show everyone I'm better. I'm not just cherry picking. I'm not just a guy who's looking to fight someone like Pedraza. I'm looking to come in here and fight everyone. And I think that's what he's going to do. But then again, you can't make somebody get in the ring. Nathaniel Bully Block, welcome back. Muhammad Ali, what's up, brother? I'm glad you're in the chat. Nathaniel Robbins says, with all the outside the ring stuff Spence has going on, he is real vulnerable. I would sign up to fight him tomorrow. Yeah, I agree with you, man. I agree with you. These guys have a lot of distractions. But my thing is with Spence, when you look at I just did a video with him. You look at his condition, man. All that weight on you, being unhappy. Like, no one's happy right now. No one's happy. Sanctioning bodies aren't happy. Spence isn't happy. Crawford's not happy. Thurman's not happy. Promoters aren't happy. And Danny Garcia's dad, what did he say? A happy fighter is a dangerous fighter? We don't know about Thurman, though. Thurman may be happy. Or he may not be because the title isn't necessarily on the line. So if you get a guy like Earl Spence, which could be for the first time in his career where he's even showing the frustration. Like his face doesn't really move much, you know what I'm saying? But his nonverbals are telling the story. He's not happy. He's being forced to do something he doesn't want to do. Now, that's what discipline is. Doing something you don't want to do like you love it. And Earl Spence has always did something he didn't want to do, which is cut that weight like he loved it because he was happy and he was on a mission. But now he's doing something he doesn't want to do, and he's not doing it like he loves it because he doesn't want to do it and he's not happy because he doesn't want to go there and fight Keith Thurman. That is a problem. And I'm not bad talking him. I'm just telling you, if that was me, I'd feel the same way. Just being honest with you. It's like me when I was working. They had these idiots trying to get me in a bunch of trouble, jealous because I was doing well. I mean, trying to get me in a bunch of trouble. Something came up. There was a project had to be put together. I was a project manager. These fools were stakeholders in the project. I had to come in and I had to depend on them to meet our milestones. You think I wanted to sit there and have these idiots next to me that were trying to, hurt my career? But I had to have discipline. But I'll tell you what, I wasn't doing that job like I loved it because I had to see these people that I despise. Same thing with Earl Spence. He got to come out here and do something like he loves it. He's not going to be able to do that. I don't think he has the discipline at this point of in his career to want to love that training, no matter how much he doesn't want to lose to Keith Thurman. What does he gain? Come on, man. What does Earl Spence gain? Okay, what's the real motivation here? You're telling him, it's like dangling the carrot in front of the man. Hey, you come out here and you knock out Keith Thurman, we'll give you Crawford. He's not going to get Crawford. They still got to negotiate the deal. So really, where's the motivation? The motivation is staying at 154. Hey, Jamel, look, Lions only, roar, brother, bubble your ass up to 160. Let me get a title here. I'm tired of messing around. And then maybe he tries to become undisputed at 154. That's the real motivation. And now he doesn't have to worry about killing himself to get to 147. Now, one thing I want to point out, everyone keeps talking about, Earl Spence and Keith Thurman. They're coming up to 154. How is that going to affect them? Now, listen, Earl Spence and Keith Thurman probably walk around about 175, 180. So they don't have to eat a bunch of steak and potatoes to gain weight. They're not Manny Pacquiao that has to eat, like he said, eating a bunch of rice and stuff so he could come up to 147. These guys normally come down past 154 to get to 147. They're just stopping a weight class above what they normally cut down to. So they're not, like having to gain weight. Now, that extra 7 pounds, it does matter. It can affect your performance. It could be good or bad. We don't know. Maybe Earl Spence is stronger. Maybe Keith Thurman is stronger. Maybe Keith Thurman is not as fast. Maybe his movements are not as fluid with that extra 7 pounds. We don't know. But that's just the wait for that moment in time for the weigh-in. What are they going to rehydrate to? You see, so we just got to wait and see how that plays out. Let me get through some of these comments. Okay. Muhammad Ali says, Spence could have been a great fight, but he's never going into the Hall of Fame, whereas Bud place is already cemented. Yeah, I mean, I think Crawford's hands are already, they already had him casted, his hands casted, and they're already up there in Canastota, right? So I think Spence has more work to do, but then again, I don't know. But I mean, you figure he's got to get into some fights with some huge names, because people are talking about, well, Arturo Gatti is in the Hall of Fame. Arturo Gatti is a different type of animal, a different type of fights he put on, you know. So Earl Spence, I think he still has some work to do, and Earl Spence isn't done. That could be why there's the big conversation. I know it's taking place because you hear them talking about it, with Jamal going to 168, Jamel to 160, and Spence at 154, so he can come to 154 and pick up some hardware, and that increases his chances of getting picked up to go into the Hall of Fame. Tisha McCulley's laughing, ha ha ha, you in trouble. Muhammad Ali says, Spencer been okay. Bully Block Fighting says, Bud is the boogeyman. Nobody really wants that smoke. Yeah, a lot of people agree with you, man. I think Bud, before that Evander fight, was even more the boogeyman. But the inactivity, man, it's like I said, you know what, inactivity, the way I describe it's like barnacles clinging to a fighter, man. And over time, you know, they just got to find a way to pry them off you. But if not, they start to bog you down. And inactivity is one of those barnacles that bog these guys down. And after they get it off of them, it still shows up in the ring that they were weighed down by something. And for Terence Crawford, he just didn't look that sharp. When people say, oh, he looked phenomenal against Evander, he did what he was supposed to do, but he took some shots. And maybe it's because he made himself vulnerable because he was trying to hold his ground and get shots off. But that's just not Bud style, man. But when I do think sometimes these fighters, it depends on the level of competition, then they, you know, that's kind of where they fight at. So I had to give Bud the benefit of the doubt because he's been a consummate professional his whole career, and he can fight. There's a reason why majority of people have him as the pound for pound number one guy in boxing. That a lot of people have him over Canelo, and I think rightfully so. But not when you talk about pay-per-view, but we're just talking about as far as fighting. But if you look at it holistically, pay-per-view and everything else, you got to go with Canelo. G Money says, so the WBC making Spence the franchise champion because he's protected. They said there's not going to be any franchise champion. There's no franchise champion for 154, and they won't be making that. That's what Suleiman said. You think he said you think Spence is protected? I don't know if he's protected, man. I think they're trying to. If Spence was protected, his mandatories wouldn't be looking like Boots Ennis and Stanley Eunice and Ortiz. You know, he wouldn't. Those wouldn't be the guys that he was looking at to fight if he gets past Thurman. So I don't think Spence is protected at all. But I don't know why people say that. I don't think Spence is protected, and I definitely don't think Crawford's protected. But I do think Spence has a team around him that's going to make sure that he gets the best deal possible. And I think his team is frustrated, so they could be kind of shielding him a kind of way from just what could be perceived as shielding him from going back into a negotiation with Terence Crawford because they feel time was wasted. So as a result, some people could take it as Spence is being protected. I just think Terence Crawford burnt a bridge. You know what I'm saying? And I've said this in the videos. You cannot insult a crocodile before you cross a bridge. If I got to cross a bridge and there's a crocodile on that damn bridge, I'm going to try to, be nice because I want to get to the other side. It was Spence and Crawford. I want to have the negotiations. I want to get the undisputed title fight. I'm not going to come out here and just insult you. And then now I'm trying to cross the bridge. You're like, okay, you come over here. I'm gonna take a pound of flesh out your ass. And that's what's happening. But it's not a pound of flesh. They're taking money out of Crawford's pocket because now he can't get a real name on his for his next fight. That's what's happening. So I could see where someone could say Spence is ducking Crawford. I understand how people arrive at that conclusion. Bully Block Fighting says, I think if Thurman gets hurt, he quits on the stool or takes a dive, thinking about family and maybe one more payday. Nobody want to be punchy after they retire. I don't know if Thurman quits. I think what happens is Thurman, because he's never shown that he wants to quit. If Thurman was a quitter, he would have quit in that Collazo fight. But what I think will happen is Thurman will keep fighting and fighting, and the fight will end up kind of like when Paulie Malignaggi fought Amir Khan, where he's still letting punches go as the referee is holding him. Like he's getting beat down so bad that the referee comes to stop the fight, but he's still letting punches go. It's just like when Blair Cobb fought Alexis Rocha. Rocha was tearing Blair Cobb up, hurting him bad. But the referee had to jump in to save Cobb, but Cobb was still throwing punches. And I can see Keith Thurman, maybe if he does get caught and get hurt, especially to the body, where the referee has to jump in and save Thurman from himself, but Thurman will still be throwing punches. Like that, I really see that. I just can't see Thurman giving Spence that kind of power over him by saying he quit. By saying he quit. I just don't see that. It's like Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. There's no way in the world Deontay Wilder was going to quit. And you saw that. I think in 10 years from now, I think Deontay Wilder may have some stuff going on with his head because he got banged up good. But, that's just how I call it for Thurman. I just don't think Thurman's going to let anybody force him to quit. I just don't think so. I Runs New York says, I don't believe them. Talking about PBC and Showtime. They're using that Bud as hard to work with because that's the narrative. If the fight was already 2023, why they can't finish where they left off? I agree with you, man. If they wanted to make the fight, they'd make the fight. I agree with you. I think it could be a little bit of excuses. You know what I'm saying? I don't disagree with you on that. Let me get back up here, man. I think I just went. Okay, yeah. I think they could definitely make the fight if they wanted to. But at the same time, time is money. So that's how I look at it. How much money was lost as a result of them not being able to consummate the fight between Spence and Crawford? And right now, they don't want to take any accountability. They just point the finger at Crawford. But at the end of the day, I understand what you're saying about the whole narrative and everything. I get it. They have a lot of bandwagonists out here, not just as fans, but also these guys who are at the big top, those decision makers. They're going to sit there and say whatever they need to say to make them look okay and make Crawford look like he's not okay. At the end of the day, I bet if it was Steven Espinoza in a position trying to work out a fight, and then there's a $10 million opportunity on the table, and he's not sure what direction these people are going because they're not treating him like with the type of respect. I'm sure Steven Espinoza would have took that money too. So, they're going to say whatever they want to say, man. G Money, facts. Bully Block Fighting says, Tank's about legacy. That talk, Mayweather tried to brainwash him about belts. Well, Leonard Ellerby and Mayweather came out and they've said this stuff. There's videos. You can go out and pull up videos where, especially Leonard Ellerby is talking about, you can't feed your kids belts. They talked about that. Belts don't matter. I think even Tank said he's not really too worried about belts. But if someone just happened to have belts, when it comes to Tank fighting, then he'll fight him. But Tank isn't looking to really chase belts. He just wants to beat everybody's ass right now, is what it sounds like, because he's tired of everybody talking. Chicken Talk says, Cool Boy Steph and Inu are fighting for legacy and money simultaneously. And that's the way to do it. That's the way to do it, man. Get out there, man. Fight for them belts, make some big money, and then drop them belts, man. If they're trying to get to undisputed, if that's your goal, get to it and drop those belts. But I'll tell you what, if this is what sucks too, look at Josh Taylor. This man became undisputed. The WBA, just like all these sanctioning bodies are out for themselves, they forced a mandatory on this man to where he had to defend the WBC belt, and he had another mandatory at the same time. It's impossible for them to fight two people at the same time. So they stripped him. You look at what's going on with the WBC right now. Berdabiev and Yardy, they're getting ready to fight. The winner of that wants to fight Bivol. Bivol wants to fight the winner of that for the undisputed showdown at 175. The WBC comes in and they're blocking it all. They're pushing Calum Smith as their mandatory to fight the winner of Yardy and Bivol. That's crazy. So when you say, when people say, oh, the undisputed takes precedence over any fight, no, it doesn't. These sanctioning bodies are out for self, man. They don't care. That's no secret. I'm just kind of reiterating that to those of you who may think that if this undisputed bout with with Spence and Crawford, look, if anyone here still thinks this undisputed distinction between Spence and Crawford is really the priority, man, you got to reassess. You got to reassess, right? It's not the priority anymore. I'm telling you. I think an undisputed distinction at the end of the day is something they want to work towards, but I don't think it's going to they really have the passion for Crawford and Spence anymore. I just don't think so. But if they sign the contract, then everybody will be back celebrating, dancing, and everything else, man. They'll start taking it to the stupid in celebrations because now everyone finally gets what they want. But while I'm reading through these comments, do you really think Crawford and Spence could sell 400,000 pay-per-view buys? That's the real question. We've talked a whole lot in this 2 hours. But do you think Crawford and Spence, where you hear people talking about, oh, they can sell 1 million, they can sell 1.5, they can sell 500,000. I personally, I think they'll get more around 300,000, maybe. And I'm only saying that because Earl Spence has done, I think he's done close to 300,000 or over 300,000 at one point. Him and Crawford those numbers could crest a little bit closer to 300,000 to 400,000. But then again, who knows, right? Let me get through the comments while you guys are posting stuff. You just said what I was typing. Lots of great minds. That's right, Bully Block. Chicken Talk says Floyd has more wins against world champions than any of these fighters. I wish these fighters would took the Floyd route. Yeah, I agree too, man. Floyd just doesn't get I don't know why he don't get that man credit. I understand his personality and all that crap, the character he created, the persona, but that's just crazy. I Runs New York says, on another note, what's your thoughts on Benavidez versus Plant? I got Plant. Bully Block says we talked about it yesterday. I got Plant winning that fight. And the only reason, because he's a boxer puncher, he's gonna box, and I said this yesterday, but I'm gonna tell you, man, he's just gonna sit there and box and pick his shots. What's his name? Benavidez is flat-footed, man. He's gonna be trying to cut the ring off and follow Plant around, and Plant's just gonna pick him apart. And then when Plant sits down on his shots, he's gonna let go. This is the thing that a lot of people don't realize. Now, my understanding is Caleb Plant is a natural left-hander. So when you saw when Plant fought Darrell in his last fight, now Darrell made it hard. That wasn't an easy a fight for Plant. Darrell was fighting to win. He was fighting dirty. But when Plant sat down and threw that double left hook and how he knocked Darrell out, I couldn't understand that. Because I said, where did he get that kind of power in his weak hand to hit him like that? Yeah, it depends on, the timing, the speed, the trajectory, and the placement of the punch. But not like that. I said, where did he get this one-hitter quitter from? But his coach came out and said something about him being left-handed. And he also said he didn't realize Caleb Plant hit that hard until he had to hold the mitts for him. He said that's because, he picked up a new coach. And that guy said, Caleb Plant hits very hard. But he got in the ring, new coach, working on some new things, getting that leverage behind his shot, turned it over, stars lined up, got the knockout. So I think it's just going to be another one of those situations like we were talking about yesterday where, what's his name? Ennis and that guy Chikadzian, you know what I'm saying? Canelo and Erislandy Lara. You got the guy who's flat-footed, who's coming looking to do damage on you, and he's just not going to be able to get there because you got the other guy who can fight the entire fight. It's like, what's his name? Chris Algieri, Ruslan Providnikov. Y'all remember that? Now, if you stand there getting cute, look at what Providnikov was able to get off on Algieri early in that fight. But then Algieri did what? Start boxing. He didn't really have the power, but he had enough to get some respect, and he just danced circles around Providnikov and got a signature win. But don't get me wrong, Benavidez is, notches above those guys as far as talent-wise and power. But Benavidez isn't going to just sit there and allow, what's his name, to peck at him. I think Benavidez and his dad in his corner, he's going to take chances. So let's get through this here. Bully block fight, we talked about it yesterday. Letitia McCullough said, I think Benavidez beats Plant. He could beat him. I just think Plant learned from the Canelo fight. I think Plant learned from that. He's not going to sit there and give anyone a chance to catch him with something crazy and have him, sprawled all over the canvas. I runs New York. Spence will be happy when he leaves PBC. I think so. I know Spence said that he wants to finish his career out with PBC and Al Heyman, but who knows what kind of turmoil is going on over there right now. I just know I don't think anyone is very happy with what's going on. I know the fans are pissed off, but I think the boxers, I think everybody's upset because things aren't just working out the way everybody planned and everyone's suffering. Bully Block Fighting says Spence don't care who he fights. He's a trained dog, literally. He gonna get up for anybody. I mean, it's how he's always been, but I mean, I don't know. I'm just looking at how he's talking, looking at his body language. The man has 3 belts. It was different when he only had 1 or he had no belts or he had 2 belts. The man has 3 belts now. He don't have time to go back and forth and play games with anybody. He's in a position of power, and he may be tired because that position of power, he's not allowed to flex it the way he wants, and it is what it is. Whoever said this is a damn fool. Spence is Hall of Fame. Now, you think DMG thinks Spence is Hall of Fame right now? I don't know. I mean, he got those 3 belts, but I think there's some more work to be done, but I don't know. Bully Block Fighting. Plant, Benavidez is an obvious, but this is boxing and upsets all day. Plant might box circles around him but Ben is like a damn mummy. Remind me of a big George Foreman. Yeah, George Foreman. We know he wasn't floating like a butterfly, stinging like a bee. But if he cornered you, he'd hurt you. ML21, stop taking up for Crawford. He keep making bad decisions. Spence gets the blame. I think, like I said early in this thing, I think there's some culpability on both sides. I think there's a little bit we can blame them both. And when I say Spence, I'm not just talking about him, I'm talking about his team, and then Crawford. But I wonder how things would have worked out if they both took that so-called $25 million apiece that Crawford said the deal he worked out. That would have been some good money, but it is what it is. DMG, Bud not no boogeyman. Bully Block Fighting. Inactivity doesn't affect, but because Bud doesn't drink, smoke, or do drugs or party, all he does is train. He's a true warrior, always focused and ready. Inactivity, man, I can tell you firsthand, man, that inactivity affects you too. Let me get up here. Get through here. We get through the comments. Spence and Bud will fight eventually at 154. I think so. Bully Block look the same. Span and speed the same look to every opponent. Thank you, Kazo. I runs New York. When did boxing become out pay-per-view? How is that a factor? Who is the best? I hate boxing become this. Well, I'll tell you why I think pay-per-view matters now is because the money's dried up. And that's the only way for these guys to really give fighters handsome paydays. A $500,000 guarantee is joke money for a champion, especially when you look at what the guys in the previous era were making. I mean, so it's kind of dried up. Even Paulie Malignaggi was making more money when he fought. So that tells you a lot. I run to New York window box. Okay, Bully Block. Damn, Mike. Bully Block. Real talk among the fighters. Crawford's the boogeyman. Bully Block. He like a mafia boss. His cadence puts out fear. Boogeyman the who. Chicken talk. Aram and Showtime say Bud is difficult to work with. Everybody lying on Bud. Everybody else can't be wrong, and you're the only one right. I think Bud is difficult to work with, but I think he has good intentions for himself. But there's got to be some give and take, man. It's called collaborating. You know what I'm saying? Everything can't be your way. We got to come through. It got to be some compromises made to make it a win-win. And I just don't think Crawford, from what people are saying, it doesn't sound like he's necessarily okay with making it a win-win for both parties. But he does say he wants to be treated fairly. But then again, like I said, if the fly on the wall could talk, then we know exactly what happened. But unfortunately, the fly on the wall can't talk. I convinced you about Thurman. Well, good. It's I'm just trying to be objective as possible because Keith Thurman can fight. Not saying he'll beat Spence, but I just think I wouldn't be surprised if he did. Espinoza will be will not be in boxing later this year, in my opinion. Showtime will not be in boxing later this year. I don't know about that, Letitia. Why do you think that, Letitia? Why do you think that Showtime and Espinoza won't be in boxing later this year? I mean, unless HBO comes back and does the Showtime, what Showtime did to HBO, and take their big star fighters and put them on their platform. Other than that, I can't see Showtime going anywhere. Damn slack in chat to video. Bully Block, real. Okay, he says realist channel on YouTube. Big up. Thank you. I appreciate it. With the rest of the world watching, yes, I think so. Chicken Talk. Last November, when they had no pay-per-view competition, they could have sold 600K. Now they'll be sandwiched between other pay-per-view. Yeah, that's true. It's all about timing, man. They messed this one up big time. You got, in April, I think you got Joshua trying to come back. There was some other fights just made to take place in April. I think, no, that's May, right? Haney's fighting in May. But there's some other fights taking place in April. I know AJ's fighting. But it's just a recipe for disaster for these guys to be fighting between April and May. Anyone fighting between April and May is a recipe for disaster, man. So for Crawford and Spence, if they were going to fight later this year, then that could be a recipe for disaster depending on Usyk, depending on Fury, depending on whatever. Because everything this year, for the most part, everything's going the direction of pay-per-view. You got Canelo coming back, and DAZN, they're doing pay-per-view. So you're right. It's all a recipe for disaster, man. I'm not saying they don't do decent numbers, but they could probably do a lot more if they were in a kind of dead space where there's not really much activity, because I think people would definitely support it. Bully Block fighting. Floyd made everyone hate him, not love him. Genius. He got the pay-per-view because everybody wanted to see him lose. Yeah, I think so. QT. Late to the party. Salute, man. Welcome to the party, QT. DMG Facts. Bully Block. QT. Now, he's not Hall of Fame yet. Yeah, that's why I think Spence still has some work to do. I know he got the 3 belts, but I think he still has some work to do. Bully Block fighting. DMG, all the fighters, bro. He old school and already beat the old fighters, all these new kids. Spence and all them know Bud, a bad man, and respect the boogeyman. If they took that 25 mil, they would be in jail now. Yeah. It's something. My thing is this. If you're going to throw that out to the world, that you got these guys with these hedge funds and you got someone ready to put up 50 million, but I'm not going to tell you who it is. Look, so don't even mention it. You know what I'm saying? Because that's why I say when Crawford took to Instagram, he just hurt himself, man. But I tell you what, the damn Kinahan, Crawford and Kinahan, that's the connection right there. But I don't know. But we know Kinahan and Crawford had a relationship. That's a fact. I know Letitia may not like that, but it's the truth. But I don't think that money came from the mob. But it makes you wonder, why, if you're going to throw it out there, at least say, this is the source, this is what's going on. How are you going to come to do negotiations with Earl Spence and Showtime, right? And tell them you got this 50 million sitting here, but you're not going to disclose from where it's coming from. So when you look at PBC and them being frustrated with Terence Crawford, I could kind of understand. Don't come and tell me you have something that you want to give me, and this is what it's going to be. Man, that's a lot of money. Where's that coming from? Well, I can't tell you that. Well, probably don't need it then. You know what I'm saying? Like that just shows you how the inexperience of Terence Crawford. You can't come into a room to negotiate and talk money and not talk about where the money's coming from. Chicken Talk says Crawford ain't have no 25 million. He wanted Al to vet if those people were legit or not. He didn't even know if those scammers were real. Bully Block. Damn, Hood Champion convinced me about Spence. I runs New York, no guarantee. 65-35 split is definitely collaborating. I guess that shows Bud is hard to work with. You know what? That's a good point. That's a good point. He was willing to take that. He was willing to take that, but there's some other areas that I guess it just felt made it difficult, man. But I do think 65-35, the man, however difficult he may have been up until that point to where he said, you know what? I'll take whatever you give me. I just want the fight. Maybe that exhausted them to the point to where that's more what they focus on. Most people, they don't remember the good. They just remember the bad. You know what I'm saying? You can sit here and ask me, hey, can I hold $5? and I give you $5. And then you ask me 10 more times and I give you $5, right? So now you got $50 or $55 out of me. And then you come on the 12th time and say, hey, let me hold another $5. I say, no, I don't have any money for you. All of a sudden, I'm an a-hole. He's difficult. He wouldn't look out for me. He's not real. But what about that first $55 I gave you? Nobody thinking about that when you were sucking my eyeballs out, taking my $55 because I wouldn't give you 5 more? I'm a bad guy. So I think that could be where they're just looking at the difficulties they may have experienced early in the negotiations and want to more or less focus on that. QT says Thurman don't have a chance at 154. He's a naturally smaller frame fighter. If Spence loses, I think we won't see him again. Oh, yeah, if Spence loses, man, Spence may pull a Tyson Fury and try to take that Ferrari and Lamborghini and drive off a bridge, start going out to eating wild boar meat and disappear from boxing. Because I'm telling you, if Keith Thurman loses to Earl Spence, whatever, Keith Thurman is in a great position. Nobody's going to really think anything of it. But if Earl Spence loses, I think Earl Spence is going to be he can go into withdrawal. I'll be honest with you. Because this social media, Earl Spence has a presence in social media. And this social media is brutal, man. I look at some of the stuff people say on Twitter. They got people who wake up and they wake up and all day before they go to bed, all they do is attack Earl Spence and Terence Crawford. I mean, viciously, man. Their families, everything. It's horrible. So I can only imagine if, what's his name, Earl Spence was to lose to Keith Thurman, it'd be bad. Letitia says, Paramount has their own streaming app. They're losing too much money over there at Showtime for some years now. Okay, yeah, I don't know anything about that. I need to get spun up on that. Paramount gets rid of all the high salary weight. You would okay, so that kind of sounds like what's happening at the Zone. The Zone is getting rid of, well, Eddie Hearn at Snatch Room. He's getting rid of those fighters to where he can't hit grand slams with them. So he doesn't want to pay them that high salary he was paying them anymore because they grew accustomed to that. And that's what they want. But he's just shedding them off, getting rid of them. He doesn't even want to really deal with Dillian White. He doesn't really want to deal with Chisora. But he's at a point now with them where he can give them, pretty much, very little money compared to what he was giving them before. And they'll still fight because they can't go anywhere else. So Eddie Hearn is able to still make a pretty good profit on them. But he's already said he doesn't care if he works with them, if they work with him or not anymore. He only wants to hit home runs. QT says, I understand folks not liking Crawford, but why people treat him like he's not a pro athlete. He's got access to resources, sponsorships, and legal teams just like any other athlete. That's true. I runs New York. I thought Al Heyman already shut it down before he can even show where the $25 million came from. They didn't want BLK Prime to take over the show. I don't know much about that, man. I know that my understanding is I could, hey, I don't know everything. But my thing was the whole BLK Prime and Crawford thing was something that was happening behind the scenes and that PBC wasn't aware of that. I wasn't aware that maybe the whole BLK Prime thing tried to come into the equation and Al Heyman shut that down. Now, what I do know, and this is a fact, is that Al Heyman, they took a long time to really want to work or plan anything with Terence Crawford until they knew for a fact that Daniel Kinahan wasn't involved. Now, I know that is something that was a great concern, that there would be no financial benefit or any benefit at all to Daniel Kinahan. Now, that's real talk right there. But as far as this whole thing about BLK Prime, I'm not sure about that. Okay, DMG says, Spencer's Hall of Fame now. You don't need undisputed to be Hall of Fame. Absolutely. Absolutely. Anybody who says you need to be undisputed to be Hall of Fame, they're wrong. I runs New York. Who does Spence beat who hasn't been beaten already? I don't think he's anybody been undefeated that he's gotten in clash with. I know the one person he was trying to get in there with and put the undefeateds on the line with was Keith Thurman, but Keith Thurman, of course, he never wanted to take that fight. Chicken talk. Letitia has no idea what she's talking about. Luckily, I'll be interviewing Espinoza again within the next 2 weeks to set the record straight. Yeah, I'll be Chicken Talk. I need to subscribe to your channel, man, because I want to hear what the hell Espinoza has to say. DMG, Spence has a great team, and Derek James would never let EJ overlook Keith. Hell, Spence not going to let himself overlook him. Yeah, I think Derek James will work to keep him focused, but at the same time, when someone's not happy, they're not happy, man. Letitia McCullough, yeah, that is what's happening at the Zone. They all want to follow the BLK Prime model. Letitia PBC was not being honest on knowing about BLK Prime. PBC is all about not wanting anything to do with Kinahan. That's true. So there you go, man. Does anybody have any more questions about Crawford and Spence? But to bring it back full circle, I think Spence has a target on his back, and I think Crawford has a target on his back. I think the sanctioning bodies and everybody just frustrated at how Crawford and Spence went about it. And I just think that at this point, they're tired of the money not being made what they hope for. They're frustrated, and they want Spence out of the welterweight division. They want Crawford out of there. And if Spence chooses to hang in there, he's already talked about moving up. They're putting that pressure on him with very difficult fights for him to fight at a weight that he doesn't want to make, and he's going to have to get out of there. And Crawford is not going to have anyone to fight. So that's how I see it. We can sit here and go round and round, and Crawford's a duck, Spence's a duck. I don't think that's the case. I just think they're looking for the best opportunity possible and for the most money possible and trying to get whatever advantage they can. Is there anything else y'all want to talk about? It doesn't even have to be with Terence Crawford, with Earl Spence, about Terence Crawford getting blackballed anymore. I think everybody kind of understands my perspective on it. But I still got some time. I got 20 minutes, man, if y'all want to talk about anything else. About Crawford, about the heavyweight division, about anything. Women's boxing, about the transgenders. You know they got the transgenders coming out there. About Eubank Jr. saying he's fighting for Eubank Jr. Talking about he's all gays and everyone should be included and we shouldn't be divisive in boxing. Our Runs New York says Crawford would shut everyone up if he fought Boots. Yeah, if Crawford and Boots were to fight, Crawford would shut everyone up. I think Crawford knocks Boots out. I do. I really do. You see, one thing I'll say about Boots, and I'm glad that guy, the Ukrainian, came out and he spoke. He spoke about Boots. Now, when we're kind of watching the fight, and it looks like, Boots, of course, he struggled with cutting the ring off. He struggled with really getting his offense off. But the guy, Chikazian, said, Boots hit very hard. He said that. He said that man hit hard. And once he got that shot, those shots, he felt it, and he knew he couldn't stand in front of him. So as a result, Chikazian, who's a master boxer, outstanding footwork, amazing footwork. He started dancing around the ring, pop shotting Boots, but he wasn't doing enough. Boots was winning, but Chikazian knew if he stood in front of him, he could get knocked out. So what that says is, for Terence Crawford, who seems, in my opinion, to be slowing just enough, if he's going to fight Boots, Crawford is a master boxer. He can float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. But if Crawford can get in there and box and be smart, I think by round 6 or 7, you'll see him start to really take over the fight, and he could stop Boots. But if for some reason Crawford just doesn't have that pep in his step anymore, then you're gonna have a huge problem with Boots. If Boots can focus on cutting the ring off, and he can get to Terence Crawford. That's how I see it. Letitia, that is going to be hard for Eubank this weekend. Damn good chat. That's right. Why does Chicken Hawk think Mayweather signed with the Zone? Oh, yeah. Eubank Jr. this weekend. Yeah, that's a good fight. A lot of people, I don't know if they keep up with a lot of the fights going on in the UK, the guys in this chat, but Eubank Jr. and Roy Jones, that's a good team. Eubank Jr., if he beats Liam Smith, Eubank Jr. and Triple G, they're supposed to be fighting. I don't know if you guys heard about that. Triple G's team, it's not even Eubank Jr. and Roy Jones talking about it no more. Remember, for the longest, they didn't even want to give Eubank Jr. a chance. But now, Triple G's team is talking about it. Man. My brother Keeper, I just listened to part of your video about Tyson Fury and his connections to organized crime. It was very good. He had a lot of good reasoning powers at work there. And we talked about that a little bit during this chat too, man, during this live, my brother Keeper, man. And like I said, I just try to be fair. You know what I'm saying? And I'm a guy, we kind of talked, whenever I do videos, somebody asks me, I just tell you, when it comes to Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, right? I always said there's no proof. I mean, you had a lot of good reasoning powers at work in that video, not him. Yeah. I just sat back, man, and I never, ever bought into there was foul play with Wilder and Fury. I said, nope, there's no proof. And the reason, because I'm a black and white person. You know what I'm saying? I'm explicit. If it's not right there in front of me, I don't deal with it. And that's just how my mind is programmed. You know what I'm saying? And that just comes with my background and the type of work I did and looking at contracts and being very specific and being on point. Like I don't do a lot of assuming, right? But at the end of the day, Wilder said there's no proof. All I'm saying is when you start connecting dots, it made me wonder. And it made me wonder, okay, what the hell's going on? And I think, like I said, what kind of broke the ice for me is when Conor Ben had this thing with Eubank Jr. and his nutritionist came out and said, you're stupid if you get caught taking PEDs. It's so easy to skirt the system when you're getting tested by VADA and you're getting tested by UCAD. Anyone who gets caught is dumb. There's a cycle to everything. There's certain times where you can take things, even when you have to do the urinalysis, the blood test, where it can be out your system. And I said, all right, no problem. But then when I found out Tyson Fury, that was Tyson Fury's nutritionist for those Wilder fights too. I said, man, it's just too much in your face to not even have an open mind. But Wilder said there's no proof. So I'm going with what Wilder said. All I'm saying is something's not right there. Something's not right. You know what I'm saying? Something ain't right there. That's all I'm saying. Damn nutritionist. So damn Tyson Fury got, Kinahan. He got a nutritionist. Kinahan's known for coming in and threatening judges, threatening referees, coming to people's promoters, threatening them, get the Irish mob. Like, I'm not making this up. And that's all I'm saying. Bob Arum. You got Bob Arum out there? You know Bob Arum, he getting old because he be chewing on his tongue and shit now, right? Bob Arum got to pay a damn mob boss consultation fees. Same man used to promote Muhammad Ali. What the hell is the mob boss going to do for Bob Arum? That's all I'm saying, man. Why are you going to pay this man $2 million a fight to be a consultant? Now, the consultation is a very broad umbrella. So maybe there's I don't know. I'm just saying it. Something just didn't seem right. That's why I did that video, man. And I'm glad you enjoyed it. My brother's QT said there's no proof, man. Wilder did Mark Breland. Yeah, I think he did Mark Breland wrong, but Deontay Wilder been watching too much the Louis Resto story and Louis Resto and Billy Collins and the Black Panama Lewis and the Black Bottle and Aaron Pryor and all that. You know what I'm saying? Absolute, madness. So I don't think Mark Breland would have did Deontay Wilder wrong, but I mean, I guess it's always possible. I just don't think so. Mark Breland, I don't know if he was out there crying and stuff, man. Deontay Wilder had that man crying. I runs New York. Have you done a video on Daniel Kinahan? I've done a video on Tyson Fury. I've done several on Daniel Kinahan, but I did a video that's an all-encompassing video that talks about Tyson Fury. He fought Klitschko, top of the world, didn't get in love when he returned to the UK, the depression, everything else, how he met Kinahan, what specifically Kinahan told him about how I'm going to get you to wealth beyond your imagination, how Fury's own trainer, Davidson, I think is his name, in a book talked about Daniel Kinahan being a godsend to Tyson Fury. None of that was my opinion, right? I gave straight facts in that video. So you go check it out, man, and you tell me what you think. But then again, I'm just going to tell you like Wilder said, hey, there ain't no proof. But, man, it's just, I just think where there's smoke, there may be fire. That's all, man. QT, facts. Water talking that let him die in the ring with his wife in the crowd. Yeah, that's stupid. That's stupid. Yeah, let me die in the ring. You know what? There's only one boxer. Yep. There's one boxer, man, that I always love hearing him talk. Before I get off this, I'm gonna get off in about 10 minutes, man. Miguel Cotto. Y'all remember when Miguel Cotto and Margarito fought, right? And Margarito damn near killed Miguel Cotto in that first fight because he was cheating, right? We all know Margarito cheated. But Margarito and Cotto were having that, remember they used to do that face-off on HBO? I forgot what it's called, but they used to sit there across the table from each other and they would talk. And Margarito was talking about when he's in the ring, he's going to fight even if he dies. He'll never quit. And he was trying to say Miguel Cotto quit. And they turned to Miguel Cotto. I think it was Max Kellerman. He was like, Cotto, so what's your take on that? And he was like, what? He was like, so what are you talking about? He's like, me die in the ring? He was like, why do I want to die? He was like, that's stupid. I have a wife. I have children. Why would I die in the ring for? For what, this? Boxing? It's the way he said it, man. I was cracking up. But he said, he called Margarito stupid for wanting to talk about he wants to die in the ring. So when we talk about Deontay Wilder talking about dying in the ring and all that, man, have all them beautiful children, got the little wife and everything, got this great life. I mean, come on, man. It's like people giving Hector Garcia flack for what happened this weekend with Tank Davis, man. Tank Davis hit that man that his vision was affected. You know what I'm saying? You go back out there because you have the heart. You're not afraid, but at some point, man, your health matters. You know what I'm saying? You can't just go out there and be okay with getting permanently damaged or killed. Derek Chisora is a good example. How many of y'all know who Derek Chisora is? Y'all think Derek Chisora should still be fighting? I'm telling you, Derek Chisora going to get killed in the ring. He can't afford to take no more punishment. Y'all know Derek Chisora. I'm about to get through these comments, right? Derek Chisora is calling out Francis Ngannou. And Eddie Hearn is looking to make a fight right now between Francis Ngannou and Derek Chisora. Now, you tell me what happens, even if it's boxing, right? You tell me what happens if Derek Chisora gets in the ring with Francis Ngannou. Now, you tell me. My brother Keeper says, I actually listened to your video up to the point where you said Bob was paying the mobster like the money for the consultation fees. At that point, I had all the reasonable proof I needed. Absolutely. That's not made up. Bob, you go pull up an article right now. Type in Bob Arum, what's the guy's name? Kinahan. Consultation fees. Pull an article right up. Bob said that. Complete madness. Bully Block Fighting says they made a movie about that with Woody Harrelson and Antonio Banderas. I forgot the name. Tisha McCulley. Kinahan moved to Abu Dhabi. Yeah, he moved over there. Abu Dhabi, right? To be safe. I forgot what they call that when you're moved to another country to avoid like extradition and stuff. I forgot what it's called, but he's protected being over there. Victor says Wilfredo Gomez told that to his corner. Don't ever stop the fight of mine, or I'll kill someone. You should watch the Bazooka Gomez documentary. It's good. I'll check it out, man. I runs New York. I like Boots saying he likes to get hit. Yeah. I talked about that in the video. Boots talking about he likes to get hit. What the hell is wrong with Boots, man? He gonna get himself in there with Crawford. He gonna get in there with somebody who can crack, and he gonna get himself hurt, get knocked out. You can't just keep taking shots, man. Y'all remember that guy Nate Campbell? Can't remember who Nate Campbell was fighting, but he had his hands down by his knees, and he was just letting the guy take shots at him. Stupid. Kept that chin out there playing around. Let the guy take a free shot. Knocked him out cold, and he was winning the fight. So yeah, probably not a good idea to just go in there taking shots. Letitia McCulley, even Floyd not floating around. Yeah, Floyd gonna float wherever the money is, man. Floyd about to return to the ring in February. Floyd more active than these champions, man. I runs New York. The point is to hit and not get hit. Absolutely, man. Okay. Anybody have anything else, man? I enjoy this. And, I just want to tell y'all thanks for joining the stream, being respectful, man. Healthy dialogue is what it's all about. and for keeping me on point too. Because like I said, I don't know everything, man. But I really enjoy these conversations. If anybody wants to hit the like button and subscribe, if it's your first time to the channel, I appreciate it, man. Anybody have anything else before I jump off, man? I got to go get these kids in about 30 minutes. Another great live. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it, man. Hopefully we'll get this channel up to about, 10,000, but I'm not worried about the 100,000. As long as we get 10,000 good people that's all about boxing and being respectful, I'm cool with that, man. I'm gonna try to do this every day, and if I could actually make a living off of this, then I'll do it, man. But I don't know. I'm not really tripping either. This right here is an outlet for me, and I enjoy it. So I'm gonna roll out of here, man. I got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I'm gonna bounce. Y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans, all 7 continents. I'm in the breeze. Yes, sir, QT. I'm out of here.